again. You wanna dose of this right now it's KD. I'm a goddess with a blaze. 소리쳐봐 나 이름 믿지 못하게 loud 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 loud. I could take you to the top. 절대 멈추지 못해. 내가 끝내주는 bad gal gal gal. And when I started talk that oh you know how to react. I'm a picture perfect face with that wild in my veins. You can hear it in my glow 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 glow. So keep your eyes on me now. 무엇을 보든 좋아할 거야. 다 할 수 없는
playoffs. I'm Sit Straight, and I'm going to be starting us off with a solo cast tonight. On the production is Reed, so don't think that I'm out here entirely alone. We're going to be getting into this draft phase right away. Now, with the playoff implications right on everybody's mind, every team is kind of talking about either making it there, bettering their seeding, or even trying to knock people out. I've even heard some talk from bottom teams saying that, that's kind of their goal in this is they want to look towards the better teams in the league and try to, take them down a peg. Not actually sure which team is which tonight. I do, however, know that it's Soundless Esports going up against SRG Monoceros. I think I actually pronounced that right. So the first ban does go over to Jarvan. Jarvan, a very strong jungler, and a very strong jungler in just about anybody's hands. I'm pretty sure Michael69 does play it as one of his premier champions. Yeah, it's actually his most played by nearly double the amount. And he does hold a 67% win rate in gold, which is pretty impressive nonetheless. Cassiopeia also taken off the table. She is just incredible laner, especially into plat minus kind of elos, because they tend to stand on the miasma or not play around the poison properly. So taking that off the table, especially if it's played, is really intelligent. And obviously, the Garen ban makes a whole lot of sense here. This is just a very high played champion who doesn't have a whole lot of counterplay outside of just, kind of stat sticking him back. It does seem like Senna also taken off the table. In my opinion, the strongest support ADC kind of, duo, as she can do both. A really strong flex pick, and because of that, definitely deserves to be picked up by every ADC in any league across anywhere. Vayne also taken away. Vayne, a personal problem champion for me. Can never really learn to deal with her. The way that you are supposed to deal with her is hard CC, so I'm not actually sure it's the most necessary ban. But if we do look over at Ham's, kind of like catalog of champions, we also don't see Vayne in it anywhere, honestly. So it's kind of odd. Olaf, though, I think another really strong ban towards the jungle, and it's a good answer if they are looking to get rid of the Jarvan that they might have been trying to get the Olaf. It's not a Tryndamere first pick. They're trolling me, so we're going to wait to see what this is. It's a Tryndamere first pick. That's what I get for saying it was a troll. So, again, we're going to look over at the other side. Maybe there's just something I don't know. I don't actually see a Tryndamere high play rate from anybody. Not even N Chinese. So that's concerning, to say the least. Maybe it's a placeholder champion. It is Tryndamere. Does have the lowest pick rate out of any champion. So Zach is locked in, and Zach obviously super heavy engaged champion. He also changes up the kind of warding patterns that your team has to do, which will require them to either use more wards in most cases or just smarter wards. But it's really hard to make that transition when you kind of trained yourself to deal with all of the other meta junglers. Yuumi also a very strong support pick. Really interested to see what that gets paired up with, though, because I feel like that a lot of times the Yuumi lane can falter, especially if you pick it into something that can get locked down very easily, right? Obviously, the Yuumi leaves one champion, things like Blitzcrank, Nautilus, even Morgana. Any real lockdown champion is going to be a super big problem. Even Leona, honestly. There's a whole lot of answers to the Yuumi pick. We do see the Wukong, though, locked in, obviously reworked. Massive changes onto the monkey champion, and they've just made him so strong. I mean, there's a hot fix which has reduced a lot of the power in the champion, but I've still seen him picked up in nearly every league that I commentate or watch. Does seem like Orianna will be the pair, and that actually makes a lot of sense with the Tryndamere and Wukong. I don't have to do a whole lot of talking to explain just how those delivery systems are going to allow her to land a shockwave, which might pick out 3 or 4 members, especially a priority target like an ADC. And with Yuumi, picking out someone who she's on is actually incredibly valuable. They're waiting a while on this one. Now, this is a very interesting pick here because technically you want to lock in a mid laner or a top laner. You don't want to allow one of them to get banned with another 2 bans right now. Ooh, but they lock in the bot lane, which means these next 2 bans for them pretty much have to go over to the bot lane, and it's going to allow kind of a protection for the Tryndamere and Orianna. But also, these are double counter picks now, which is pretty big. Actually, I think we can tell. So it's SRG on the red side. Look at that. Their club tags really helped me there. Yeah, so SRG is going to have a really hard time, or a really good time, sorry, because they have the counter pick in both lanes. And I mean, it's definitely a little weird that they might get banned here, but still, I don't know. I'm a little confused by the drafts overall. I've never actually been in a position where the top laner gets picked and I wouldn't select the top laner right back, and then they would select the mid laner with that kind of 1-2 rotation. It's really interesting, to say the least. This is actually a draft that I'd like to see play back in all consideration, because that's just an odd formation of picks that doesn't happen. Although Misfortune, Yasuo, and Pantheon all taken away. Misfortune, obviously the highest win rate ADC across just about every elo right now. Yasuo, very good with the knockups on Wukong and Orianna, so that's a smart pick to take away. And obviously Pantheon is just a hard win lane into almost anybody, and he can do a lot, even into the Wukong in the kind of like, push forward style that's currently being drafted. Does look like Jack's also taken away. That's a little bit more scaling off the table, although I think Ezreal Yumi is enough that you're not really that concerned. Again, it's a long wait on the pick from SRG. And wow, they're really getting this one down to the 0 second mark. Actually, I don't imagine that a pick is even going to come in. They kind of take the Zed here, and I don't think that they're comfortable with it. It is obviously a very good answer to the Orianna. The issue is AP items are so good at being defensive that Orianna is going to be able to build the Seeker's Arm Guard, still have ability power, and then go into a stopwatch, which is the premier counter item, and get that by the level 6 that Zed will get, right? So this is obviously the premier counter item to Deathmark. And on top of that, upgrade it into Azonias, and even get Ninja Tabbies if the lane does stay that oppressive to the point where the Zed will have to roam. And as long as you give Repeat the blue buff, I actually don't think he'll be able to, right? Obviously, Orianna's Wave Clear is no match for Zed if she has mana regen. Now, the bot lane does lock in here, and it's going to be Jinx and Lulu. This is a bot lane that I have actually not seen put together in, years. We're talking Season 5, Season 6. This is a very old bot lane that never really got picked intentionally, right? Obviously, you always wanted Lulu Kog'Maw or Lulu Twitch. And if you got like a Lulu Jinx, it was kind of because you messed up in the draft and you ended up getting it banned. But Jinx also a very good champion in the hands of those gold and under players, which is the elo we're in right now. I believe there's only one platinum player among the mix. And it's really just because if you get the one kill off a Shockwave, off a Wukong ultimate, or even off a Tryndamere all in, you get excited, and it's so much easier to play from there that the very clear win conditions, very clear moments to fight and not to fight, make it so she's not just a safe pick, but a useful pick. Now, obviously, the match here is to put the Zac in the top lane against the Tryndamere. They're kind of showing that they actually had already drafted the counter lane. That's kind of on me. I forgot Zac is going top lane quite frequently now. That's actually not too strange. The Sejuani, obviously a good pickup here. When you do have the two melee champions in Zed and Zac in the solo lane. This is because Sejuani passive actually doesn't work with ranged champions. So Ezreal Q, Ezreal auto, it's not going to stack up those autos. But like Zac and Zed, they're going to give Sejuani, even when she's nearby them, stacks on the E passive so she can stun and deal 10% of the healths, or 10% of their max health and damage when she autos them and breaks the ice. And it really does help out, especially Zed, but in the top lane too, Zac, just because it's so much longer. In the bot lane, the matchup's largely going to be poke and prod and just try to get the CS lead. The issue is that Yuumi Ezreal actually does have the ability to poke down the Jinx and Lulu far enough that they either run out of mana or run out of health, right? Obviously, run out of mana shielding the Jinx, or they run out of health because the shields aren't working or they're not coming down. And it's going to be really interesting to see if they can actually play to the win condition here. The good thing about playing into Ezreal Yuumi is that they each have the same counter, and that's kind of the play within the minion wave. The issue is that traditionally, while you stand behind the minion wave, into Yuumi Ezreal, you have to be willing to kind of stand in the minion wave, which is a little interesting because obviously Yuumi can turn that Q around the wave and hit you with it. It's one of the harder skill shots to miss. But if you have some time playing into it, you'll normally be able to kind of get it done and know when to take the Qs to the face and when you can kind of step up. Obviously, you can step up more often when there's more melee minions because then Ezreal can't land his Q. Or even if you have a support who isn't Lulu, say a Nautilus might be able to kind of like step up, use his W to trade there. With Lulu, though, we're going to actually be looking for a lot of trades used. Not so much reactively. I would really like to see the Lulu giving the Jinx shield for the Jinx to kind of go in and auto attack the Ezreal and take him down to low health. That's kind of the counterplay here, right? Obviously, you can do the same thing that they want to do and burn down the Yuumi health, burn down the Yuumi mana, and then in turn the Ezreal health. But that's really going to require proactive play out of the bot lane from Desith and Wicktech, because it just genuinely needs a Lulu who's willing to use the shields. That way the auto attacks and the attack speed from it are going to deal extra damage with picks on top of Jinx. And Jinx is going to have to use the shield more in the trade when she wants to take it, rather than reactively to avoid, kind of like getting poked out yourself. So it'll be interesting. Obviously, if they are the better bot lane, they will beat this Ezreal Yuumi. Now, the only thing that we really haven't talked about in kind of how it works, nitpickily, I think is a really bad way to say that, Tryndamere versus Zac. And that's only because it's a super awkward lane for me to kind of discuss, just in that I don't know how either player plays this. A good Zac is going to be able to kind of play the wave and use his slingshot properly so that he always gets away, given that Tryndamere has no hard CC to stop it. So Zac should never lose his passive, even let alone die. The real thing, though, is how much CS is a Zac able to get against the Tryndamere, and is he able to effectively harass the Tryndamere so that he doesn't become a threat? I don't actually think it's that great of a counter pick, because Zac he's not just capable in this lane of running away. He's not into, say, Ornn or a Maokai, where, you know, he can kind of just let noodle with them and be effective later into the game. The real issue here is that he needs to do something to mitigate the Tryndamere influence, because Tryndamere will take towers, Tryndamere will take waves, he will become a threat, he will not stop pushing. And I mean, as much as this is a kind of like, you know, meme champion in the higher elos, and this elo, it's a credible threat, and so much so a credible threat that a lot of really good players have said, you should just pick this and kind of continue to run it. Yeah, so this isn't a placeholder. That's also why I was kind of afraid on really talking about it, because I haven't seen a Tryndamere in so long. But I will give it the credit that there are a lot of people who, you know. Yeah, we got to do the pause at 5 seconds. So the game gets loaded up, and that means we're going to get a look at the runes and keystone choices. Conqueror Zac is something that is pretty standard again, which is the reason that it works. The issue is that obviously the Tryndamere has predicted this Gonic. Now, the way his team is going to kind of deal with the teleport imbalance is to put it on repeat. The issue I have with this is Tryndamere will be the one primarily split pushing. You really want repeat on the Orianna with the team. I just can't imagine a world in which you'd actually prefer to have the Orianna not with the team. But if the Tryndamere is good enough to kind of, you know, shove this in and get the win, I totally understand it, because winning top lane in this meta specifically is so good. And I mean, I don't know if these teams will employ the strategy, but a very common strategy right now is to forego the first 2 dragons in favor of actually getting the Rift Heralds and getting a gold lead. So that way you can then, you know, get the last 4 dragons and take the big stack. Now, I mean, like, a lot of people like to talk about the idea of getting the 4-stack dragon, but this is the first time that there's a real effective strategy that's being employed at every elo. So I'm really interested to see his team start to employ this kind of like meta tactic of avoiding the first 2 dragons. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm still at 0% here, so I think we've loaded in, but I'm going to be kind of trailing. Oh, I'm in. Great. Reed, if you'll just count us down, I'll start. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the characters have loaded onto the Rift, and unlike North America, the server that's home to me, y'all are not getting the delayed, you know, entries, which is kind of cool. For us, they actually have our games on a delay, and they have all the champions entering on such a delay that it assumes we disconnected, so everybody spawns in the middle of the fountain. Hopefully that doesn't happen to EUS. It's not the most fun. But it does look like it's a 3-stack. Running in through the top side, an invade on the red of SRG. Soundless is going to get in, but they do get spotted, and that's going to mean they walk right back out. It's Mickle69 who's going to be enough to scare them away on the Sejuani, and he disconnects immediately. I'm not sure if this is the connection issues, but it probably is, as everyone should be aware by now. There is something of a global pandemic happening, so internet speeds around the world are facing problems and bottlenecking issues. It's unfortunate, but kind of inevitable in a world where everyone stays at home in this day and age. We're just going to hope that the players are able to get into the game and get running. I assume everyone, you know, had played today and actually ran a test. You never know, though. Yeah, we're resuming. Let's go. So it's just a pretty cool Tryndamere skin. The way the blade drags against the ground, it doesn't just like leave a mark, but it also kind of leaves sparks trailing off of it. I'm a fan of that. All is quiet. It looks like it's going to be a red side start for the Wukong, and it's going to be a bot side start for the Sejuani, who did not decide to back, actually disconnected, so you walk back to the fountain, which is really unfortunate in the first few minutes of the game. You'd actually just rather stay in place, but I can understand situations where it might help, and in this case, it doesn't actually hurt. So the mirrored pathing here does mean that if it goes for a full clear for each jungler, they will meet at the scuttle at the same time, and Wukong should in theory beat the Sejuani, given that priority isn't astray in the mid or top. But priority will actually be the real teller of who wins that fight, because as long as their laners are willing to kind of roam down and make a play for that scuttle, it'll be different. Although it looks like Wukong is not going for that pathing whatsoever. He's walking right into the mid lane. Oh, come on, Grip. I'm a fan already. He's sitting in the bush. He really wants to take out this Zed. I don't think he's going to be able to do it if I'm being entirely honest. I think this is a very greedy pathing decision. He does walk right out of the bush. Camera doesn't pan onto it, and that's because he doesn't actually even land a single ability onto the Zed. This is just wasted jungle time. And while he's doing this, Sejuani is already onto her third camp, but actually forgoes that and starts walking to red. That's kind of smart if you see Wukong. I actually dislike this decision out of the Sejuani right now. You'd rather not go for your wolves here. You want to assume Wukong goes to your red, so you go to your red or your raptors to secure them. But in this case, again, it doesn't actually matter because he doesn't do that. Just a little bit greedy. In the bot lane, though, big from the Jinx and Lulu, looking to play the lane properly, and if Wicktech is the one taking the damage, that's perfect. You'd love to trade the entire support health bar big Q miss out of Zac in the top lane, and he's going to pay dearly for it. That's actually how this Tryndamere looks like he's going to stay ahead of the lane. If he can dip and dodge the spells and the slingshot isn't available, Zac forced to use the potions very early. Now you do see the pings come down onto the Scuttle Crab, so Sejuani's going to go for the red and then right to the Scuttle. Wukong looks more interested in the Scuttle than anything else. And it looks like that they're both going to make the play onto the Sejuani. Now they know she's in the red. There is no ward. Oh, there might have been a ward to spot her. She does walk out, get the red buff, and because she has the headbutt to get away, Sejuani, uses it to actually get to that blasting cone and get away. I don't know if the camera actually panned that, but I can just tell by watching the minimap that that's exactly how that went down. Now, if we do see, she's actually going to head to this bottom scuttle, and this is actually very intelligent pathing decision. While Wukong does take the raptors away, she is going to be able to secure a scuttle, and then even look to take the enemy raptors here, honestly. This is a very intelligent pathing decision. And the Wukong is seeming reactionary, but he is making up for the kind of mistake, although he does seem to still suffer that one camp deficit. Now, here comes Sejuani's attempt. This is what that advantage is going to get her. It's this gank. Exhaust comes down, but it's onto the Lulu, and it forces double flashes out of the bot laners. That is one successful gank. You should get out, though. Don't take the damage. Let your Ezreal stay in and stay alive. Ham, down to 100 HP. You don't even see the line in the bar. Yumi makes it appear. Sejuani now actually should look to get her gromp. I guess the back does make sense as well. Wukong evens out the jungle disadvantage, and she doesn't actually back. She walks up to the gromp then. It might make sense here to back, but I think taking the Gromp and the Wolves on respawn actually makes sure that they respawn at a proper timing with your blue buff. So you'd rather always take these two camps as soon as possible, every time. Now, in the bot lane, as the poke does continue, Ham is kind of actually in a bad position, even though his enemy laners are both missing their flashes. That said, one misstep from them is going to be a massive problem. While a misstep for Ham, obviously heal and flash both available means he's not in the worst of positions. I think the CS lead is kind of reflecting that, although it's actually not much of a lead. It's one if we do total those and assume that Jinx picks up all three, which are going to go under tower. While in the top side, Tryndamere, as predicted, is getting a mighty CS lead onto the Zac, and is actually even looking to try and get the wave shoving into himself. I think that E's going to stop that, but if you look at he's just playing this perfectly. Don't actually know how to pronounce the top laner's name, so he's going to be called Zac. So Sejuani looking to make her way up into the top lane now. We'll see if she can land the headbutt or the E with the Zac here now. So Zac actually misses the Q. Slingshot does come out, ignites down onto the Zac. He auto-attacks the minion. Sejuani is doing all the work. Tryndamere's over. He's looking for the passive, but he doesn't have his ultimate. This is going to seal the deal, and I think he'll be happy to get the Zac passive, but he does have flash, and he's actually going to get away. And that's a huge mistake there from Zac in the top lane. Actually made me off and choke a second, and I swear it was not his gameplay and my lack of health in this time right now. Although Zed's in the mid lane with the death, he gets the Q, but Repeat's definitely not going to die there. The big issue that I have is that Zac actually plays it properly. You see a lot of bad Zac, and I've actually been coached Zac. who they throw the Q at the enemy laner and try to hit a skill shot, and that's always the wrong play. You always throw it at a minion, then you auto attack the laner, but in the excitement of the moment or in the anxiety of messing it up, he actually causes his worst fear, and he auto attacks the same minion that he queued, which means he doesn't get the CC onto Tryndamere, which means that the whole play ends up spiraling in Chinese favor until he gets the Zac passive traded and just flashes away from the Sejuani. And I'm not saying the flash isn't worth it, but it definitely is a moral boost for the Tryndamere in that lane. Now in the mid lane though, what we did see there was obviously the all-in from Monoceros, but it was very, very poorly timed. There's full health on the Orianna. There's just methods and procedures you have to take, although they're looking to get the Sejuani out in her jungle. Again, they are just playing so hard on top of her jungle. This seems to be the strategy from Soundless Esports, that they work into the enemy jungle as a team and a unit and play with the priority of their own lanes, and even forego some of that priority. As you see, the bot laners are actually letting their lane shove in on them. Jinx takes a whole bunch of poke here, does not land the W, as Ezreal uses the phase shift to get away. We see that the Mountain Drake is still alive as well. Obviously, with the Rift Herald spawning up too, I'd like to see if these teams have kind of adapted to the new macro of leaving these first two dragons to kind of the worst team. I'll say in another way. We do see pings coming out from Soundless. They're definitely interested in picking up this dragon right now. I would say that there are dragons worth prioritizing the first one on, specifically like the Ocean Drake, obviously. Even the Infernal or the Cloud, getting one of those can be decent. The Mountain, though, normally not the best, and definitely not the best when your team is 5 champions who are going to build AP and AD. We do see Zac go for the skill shot and minion auto version. My personal least favorite version of the use of Zac Q. And the top lane, actually, it's about to be a double CS lead for the Tryndamere. He's only 2 waves now away from that. He's currently up by 3, and that's why he's now begun to proxy, because if you look, he has his Tiamat into the Bramble. He can no longer effectively trade with the Zac, but what he can do is make the Zac's life very miserable by kind of forcing him to tower farm, although we do see they're going to catch him out trying to triangle farm onto the Krugs. Q does land onto Tryndamere. He's going to use his ultimate, get some good auto attacks down. That's going to be enough to heal him back up, as he does get the first blood onto the Sejuani. You knew it was going to happen. It's a classic Tryndamere play. Stand there and act like by the time this is all over, you're going to die, and then heal up at the last moment, getting those crits in as you do it. And it's exactly why Mikkel69 goes down, just did not respect the damage on the Tryndamere. Something that I think a whole lot of other players honestly would have just given up there and kind of let the ultimate be, or even, played back and then kind of played forward after. It's very wrong to fight him there in the early levels, although we do see Yuumi ultimate comes down, does not land the stun though, or the root. My apologies. And that's going to be unfortunate. The poke, however, from the Q will connect. In the top side, it looks like Orianna is going to be getting this blue buff, so Soundless Esports is not going to troll their mid laner. They're actually going to let her play properly into the Zed. And while she has chosen the Lost Chapter over the Seeker's Arm Guard, I think it's not the greediest thing in the world, given that she is up 20 CS and has shown that the Zed is not as good as her. Already survived an all-in at the level 6. And now with blue buff, I think is just going to actually be the aggressor in this lane rather than the aggressive pawn. Although, we'll see here, because she does look like she's making some very interesting movements. The ward there kind of signals that she might be looking to play for the dragon in her team, maybe more than the wave. We'll have to see. I'm really interested to see how Repeat continues to play this lane out, because he hasn't actually shown that he wants to shove or to let the lane get shoved into him. He seems to really follow the lead of the Zed, and as objectives come up, it's actually going to be really important that he can, take the lead on wave management. Although we do see Zac still stuck tower farming in the top lane, and it's actually been for the better. The CS lead hasn't gotten any worse. The Manaless champion apparently does really well tower farming. Didn't actually think about that. All of his abilities help him out at the end of the day with this. And I think Tryndamere's proxying isn't the best answer into the Zac, but it might be the best answer for the Tryndamere, if that makes any bit of sense. As Gripe does use his ultimate in a little bit of engage, but without the mana, he's just using the ultimate twice. Okay. I think you should just drop this Herald here, honestly, if that's what the play is. If not, you want to go take that to the mid lane. Although we do see a pause come out, and this pause comes out at a very precarious time, as we do see Zac and Sejuani looking to make a collapse onto the Wukong and Tryndamere. The obvious issue with this is only having Bramble Vest and a Bambi Cinder. There is just not enough damage between the Sejuani and the Zac, let alone enough levels or CS to kind of compete against the Wukong and Tryndamere. So as this restarts in 5 seconds, I imagine Wukong and Tryndamere are just going to control this entire area. Everything except for the control ward sitting in Tribush is in their favor. We do see Zach E does connect. The Ignite comes down instantly. W from Sejuani's going to go down as well. They do focus very well onto the Wukong, but it's the clone. And that means they don't get it, but they get the right one eventually. And here comes Zed. He's going to land a big Q, steal the kill away, and I spoke way too soon as the tanks actually deal a whole lot of damage, most of that coming out from Dammy Cinder. And we do see the Shockwave is going to get Ham in place. He's still taking the damage down under Repeat. Repeat's got the Ignite. He's going to go down to a big Q from Ezreal, taking his first kill. Now, in the bot lane, they only get one plating there, and that's a lot just because Jinx hasn't actually got a chance to buy any attack speed. Obviously, with raw AD, there just isn't a whole lot of time. The Q does help. She might even get a second plating, but the decision to play up here could cost Soundless a whole lot, as SRG does decide to actually just take the Drake here. Obviously, I think the team with the Rift Herald is the team that's winning out at the end of the day, and they are going to take this bot lane, even it looks like, which is kind of like the ultimate bit of disrespect. Although, Wukong, dude, you got to use this at some point. It's almost half through its duration, and that's when it starts to get scary that you just may never use it, right? Although 3 platings down in the bot lane, maybe it's just better to take it mid. He does actually summon it. Okay, so they are going to make sure they get the first Hurt Blood. I'm really happy with this. I just really hate to see it not used. But I think if you had played it at an earlier time, you could have actually guaranteed this and then rotated to the mid. Instead, they're going to take this fight. Yuumi ultimate doesn't root anybody. I don't even think it even hits anybody. Lulu ultimate's going to knock up the Zed. That stops him in his tracks, but it's onto the Lulu proper. Sejuani flashes forward, but she doesn't pick up anything except for a death. Not sure what the plan was there. Maybe it was to get Gripe, but I just think he had enough HP that the fact that he's that low is surprising to me, honestly. There is very little chance of that succeeding, and because they take the 4-man engage and lose in the bot side, that's actually going to cost SRG 2 platings in the mid, the whole tower now, and the bot gone to the Rift Herald, and all they have to show for it is that Mountain Drake, which, I mean, it is better when you have the Sejuani and the Zac than it would be, but it's still not the best answer. I think you'd rather have this Rift Herald. So we do see Qs coming out in the mid lane from both of them, but none of them are going to land. I think they just actually want to CS here. We do see the 13-minute mark. CS to come out, and only the Ezreal, Orianna, and Tryndamere are sitting at what I would consider a proper CS. Maybe Jinx's as well. Yeah, Jinx is proper. She's doing fine, given that she actually is playing on the map and playing the game, and those platings definitely really help. But everybody else is just kind of a little bit behind. I'd say the junglers definitely have needed more time to CS, but have been required to kind of be in their lanes. It seems like their laners maybe just need a little bit more help than I would consider my own self used to. But that might explain why the junglers seem a little off to me, because, yeah, it's really that Zed and Zac who are a little behind. Even then, Zed kind of comes back and Jinx falls again. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic pulls out. Obviously, it's going to be the Orianna and the Ezreal trying to carry their respective teams. The Wukong has been displaying himself as a carry, but hasn't actually, put out that carry type of performance yet. Only 13 minutes in or 14 minutes in, obviously a whole lot can change. Orianna does extend a little bit too much there. Her pings are back. That's really smart. And she definitely wants help here in the mid lane, as 3 members do lift the siege upon the tower. Yuumi Q actually misses there. That feels really bad. Zed Q only hits the 1 and doesn't hit the E, and that's why Orianna doesn't even look like she has been attacked by 3 champions there. She even waves clears, just totally calm. The shield that was already up to block the E. I'm a really big fan of Repeat's Orianna. That Q does land onto the loop. That's Taker, the primary target for the Sling. Zac, who does land the Q onto the already knocked up target. Polymorph comes in, means he's not going to be able to claim another auto attack. He gets auto attack. Lulu, E, and picks are going to be enough to bring the big man down sub 100, but in the bot side, it's not going to be enough to save her, as Zed and Yuumi do take out the Orianna. And that just means Wukong is relegated to farming his wolves, while Tryndamere shoves in the bot lane. Now, this is exactly what you want to see out of Soundless. They have the Tryndamere running routes while his bot laners actually swap to try and take top turret. They're playing around the map actually pretty intelligently there, right? They're obviously splitting up the kind of power dynamic and forcing them to match lanes. And I think as long as SRG is forced to match lanes instead of set lanes, it's actually going to be a great time for Soundless. Now, for those of you who don't know what I mean by matching and setting lanes, the team that set lanes would actively choose who goes where. And you'll kind of notice this normally by the teams getting objectives. So it's very results-based. But the best way that I can put it is, if you see one team walking onto the map and kind of changing their laning positions, and the other team's laners running through their own jungle to go and match, that tends to mean that one team is setting, and the team that's running through their jungle is obviously reacting. Although Wukong, back in his jungle, just farming away. I'd really like to actually see him group up in this top lane here. You see Sonny actually stuck in the mid lane right now, kind of babysitting. And I think with this village, you could play for either the Rift Herald or the Dragon. I'd really like to see actually the Rift Herald vision after you get top tower. Really nice. It looks like they might get it here though, as Jinx does have the shield from Lulu. Q doesn't connect, and yeah, the machine gun's actually enough to do it. And with those AoE crit rockets, it's gonna bring Ezreal down to just a little bit over half health. Here comes Wukong into the mid lane. I don't think you can get this pick onto Zed, but he's been trying since level 2, and it's not a story that works in his favor. They do, however, turn their attention onto the Rift Herald. Did they get the vision that I wanted for it? Of course not. But are they getting the objective? Yes. And, I mean, you know, the results are going to speak to the fact that it's working for Soundless right now. But this could definitely be a little bit cleaner. It's risky to still be making this with the enemy jungler alive. You know, obviously you haven't seen her since she's been in her own jungle. But they are going to rotate right back down to the Dragon, and here's where SRG looks like they might make their stand. Obviously, they do have the kill lead, but are woefully behind in the gold, about to be down 3,000 plus, maybe even 4 when this tower falls. Yeah, 3,300. And wow, Soundless actually comes in and takes the scuttle right away from the jungler of SRG, and now they're going to turn their attention onto this Infernal Drake. They would have happily given this away, and I think that would have been fine, but the Infernal Drake is actually very strong and one that you kind of always want to pick up. We do see the E comes out, and that's actually going to land the root onto Sejuani, which means all she can do is throw out an ultimate. Blue team secures the Dragon. Trinimir's all the way in with the Lulu ultimate. He's going to flash forward to avoid the damage, but the stun still comes in from the Yuumi. Does heal up from the big auto attack. Crits onto Sejuani. She's going to go down. Zed picks out Drinks on the back end. He's going to recall in the enemy jungle. Orianna goes forward with the shield onto the ignited Trinimir. That's going to keep him alive. As the 4 members of Soundless now shove into the bot lane, Wukong is just running forward, and then he uses the clone. That was a very nice usage there to try and pick the Zac out. It did not work. But it even kind of juked me out in my watching of the play. Now, we do see the mid lane becomes the focus, though. This team is kind of flexing their power wherever they can go. And this is a lot of what you could talk about when you say setting. Obviously, they push in this bot lane just because they win the objective in the fight. But using this Herald now, this is just very smart play in rotations. It's actually going to net them the first or second inner of the game now. Yeah, this is just very clean out of Soundless at this point. And even if you don't get this Herald charge, you actually don't really care if you do. The fact that even hits is just kind of a laughing matter, something the team would just, you know, be smiling about. Because at the end of the day, your goal was to get the 1 tower, and that's exactly why they back away. Very clean play, and even Tryndamere, very impressed by Chinese Tryndamere, just because the way that he plays, he's actually using just about every resource at his disposal. I think that's why. Ooh, wow. We're talking about using every resource there. Shockwave connects right into the Zed, and that's going to pick him out at a pivotal time in this game. As his team is just on the back foot already, not going to like to be down that member, although given that there's so much gold standing, they have to actually back and spend, and it's only the Tryndamere left actually now who needs to get his back off. So once Tryndamere gets his back off, we're actually going to see they're going to choose the lanes again, and it looks like Tryndamere is going to go bot lane. I really would disagree with that. I think Tryndamere should be put into the top side. Orianna's going into the top, and that means that it's going to be the classic support jungle and ADC in the mid. I mean, it would make some sense because the Orianna does have TP and the Tryndamere doesn't, but the next objective is the Baron at 20 minutes, so you definitely want your TP-less member to be there, although he is taking the jungle farm as well. I'd actually like to see how much jungle farm this Tryndamere took by the end of the game, because that's where the majority of this CS kind of mountain that he's sitting on comes from. And this is insane CS numbers when you consider the kind of elos that we're in, right? Sitting at nearly 200 CS by 20 minutes is what pros would do. Oh, he calls him chicken, and that means Zac is going to have to use the slingshot to get away. This is kind of what I had expected in the lane, or at least anticipated, and unfortunately was not the case, although Zac still 1-0-3. Did not actually end up dying to the Tryndamere throughout the whole laning phase. Kind of secured his mission in that sense. Definitely, though, did fall behind in the whole, you know, stopping him from CSing, which we thought would be inevitable. here come the auto attack. Slingshot still available means that Zach can turn and burn under the tower, but with that Undying Rage, oh wow, the Sejuani headbutt is just going to make Repeat feel that for the next few days. And the flash into the wall, you had no chance of making that, bud. He looks to pick out Ham with the Q, but it's a big ultimate from the Lulu, slither of health. It's an ultimate from Sejuani now that's forced to secure it. That was some great Lulu play, but the death mark from Zed is going to connect. SRG has another burn life in this one as they chase down Lulu on the other end. Tryndamere eats the turret shots, takes the passive from Zach, and that means that he once again does not kill the slippery green man. And this game is far from over. I was just feeling so bad watching Repeat get run down there, but if they're able to turn a pick without one of their members dealing nearly, I don't think he actually dealt any damage, Repeat, on the Orianna. Yeah, that's just, it's a good sign, at least for SRG, that they're able to make the play there, but it's not the best sign that Soundless is still able to make the play down a member, essentially. We do see pings come down onto the Baron. I'm not really sure that either team can take it. Jinx being crit right now means she isn't really going to be able to if she had the Bork. Definitely would be capable. Tryndamere, not the biggest taker, and neither is Wukong. Yeah, you just don't really have anyone who can really burst it down, and neither on the side of SRG, so it is going to have to be a 24-25 minute Baron, I believe. Even though everybody is, so far ahead, it's still only an 8-4 game. Like, this is all macro from Soundless. None of what they're doing is in the, micro head play. Oh, wow. Lands the skill shot Q, and that's going to allow him to knock together the Tryndamere, but unfortunately, there's just no damage that can ever be landed down on the man, and even his team is pinging him back, telling him, please don't fight. Ezreal is trying to land a little bit of damage there with the W and the Q. Standing at 1-0-2, we are kind of waiting for that moment that Ezreal explodes, but he's sitting on the Stinger and the Sheen, which means that he's still trying to finish a Trinity Force. That's something we actually haven't really looked at so much in this game as the builds. In the bot lane, both do look like that they should be building Ardent Sensor and some mana regen, although this dragon will go over to the side of Soundless, not too big surprise there. But Yuumi actually going for the Lost Chapter, I think the Morellonomicon there, maybe to deal with the Tryndamere. That's a very interesting pickup. I don't actually think Yuumi's build that. Or is that not, it wouldn't be a Morellonomicon, would it? Because that builds out of the Oblivion Orb. I don't know what she's building. Maybe a Luden's Echo? I think it's a Luden's Echo, right? Lost Chapter and a Blasphemon? Sorry, I'm all alone and I'm trying my best on that one. I'm going to guess that it's a Luden's Echo for real. And we're just going to see how the Yuumi goes. Maybe it's a great damage build. We do see Tryndamere in the bot side just dealing so much pain onto the Zac. And now with the ability to heal, with the ability to use his ultimate, the Undying Rage, should be able to, actually, no, doesn't even get the kill, gets shut down. But he does do one huge thing, and that's drag 4 members of the enemy team down to the bot side. And now, 23 minutes in, the Baron is capable for them because they're getting so much time alone with it. Sejuani is given a moment to break in and try to steal. She takes it away from them. Michael69 takes the Tryndamere, takes the Baron, and rips a little bit of hope away from Soundless while doing it. You thought it was a good play, but it takes so long to take that Baron without a team that has reliable Baron damage that even though it's so far away, the Tryndamere is, that he can drag them, cross map. Still, the Sejuani's able to make it there and able to make the smite work. They call it a 50-50, but it honestly feels like it's always in the attacker's favors in the moment. And that's actually going to allow SRG now to crack down on these middle turrets. The only two they've taken have been in the mid, but arguably those are the two most important turrets in the game, with Zac now on the bot side with Baron. Bottom tower falling is a formality for SRG. They'll also look to take this top tower, and with it, they'll take one of the scariest things that Soundless was holding on to, and that's standing gold, right? When you're ahead in kills, but the enemy is ahead in gold because they have multiple turrets, and you take those turrets because you continue to win fights and win kills, what happens is you get all of that gold back that they've had over you the whole game, plus the gold that you would have had already that was keeping you in it with the kills. So your gold lead just balloons and explodes, and that's why with just 2 turrets falling, they're already right back into this 1.5 thousand gold down. And you can imagine if they take 2 more turrets, they're up 4 kills in gold. The issue with that mathematics is that Orianna and Tryndamere each have 220 CS plus. It's a little suspect if you ask me. Those are ridiculously high numbers for this time in the game for anyone who isn't Diamond, but what do I know? We usually get another pause. Oh. So, besides that, we can see the Tryndamere is actually going to pick up a Bork now. But he has components to everything. He's got a Stinger in there. He's got a Bork in there. He's got a Tiamat. He has an Essence Reaver. This Tryndamere is a walking stat stick. And I think he's just comfortable with it. He's got the cooldown reduction and obviously the attack speed from the Stinger. And the Bork is going to help him break down the Barons. The Tiamat helps him to shove. And I think the Essence Reaver, maybe it's a style item. I actually don't know why. Maybe it's a 20% cooldown and he's just trying to hit the... That would make sense. If he takes Transcendence, he hits 40. I'm going to hover on him real quick. We'll see if he's at 40% CDR. Oh, he takes another fight onto the Zac, and yeah, he is at 40% CDR. So that's why he does it. He definitely takes Transcendence or something else to pick up the other 10%. I think it's Transcendence. We do see the Yuumi actually picks up the Luden Zyko. Look at that. I'm not going crazy here. Definitely a greedy pick when your team is actively fighting over and over again. Any bit of gen and healing would have helped the Yuumi. Even if the Ardent Sensor doesn't help Ezreal, the Athene's Unholy Grail is such a good item. It gives so much AP. Like, it's cheaper too. I mean, I know the resistance actually help Yuumi, but I don't know. We'll check the damage numbers. The builds tend to not matter too much here, except for on the tanks. As we do see Tryndamere getting beaten down and knocked around by 3 of them. He's stunned in Dying Rage to flash forward onto the Zed Mark to avoid the damage, and Zac takes the kill. Now, still up to 5 kills, down 2,300 gold. This is so much just in the CS that Soundless is able to accrue. Honestly, their CS seed is just super impressive. It's kind of scary. As we do see the knockup kind of come in, it's Wukong on Wukong there. As he lands the ultimate, actually going to cancel the Zac slingshot. He cannot cancel the lance. He lets bounce then. Forced to flash away, dodges the ultimate from the Sejuani as Zed jumps on, but the Lulu ultimate is going to be able to keep him alive. Stands in place and pretends the fake. That's actually going to be enough to keep him alive. Oh my god, Gripe, that was so dirty. That was cheeky. I don't even have another word for that. He stood still and they just quit hitting him. He played dead. As Wicktech almost takes killer damage there, but does get the shield out to keep himself alive. We do see Repeat lands a shockwave onto 2 of them. That's going to be Zac's passive going down without a doubt, but he actually is able to heal it back up. I lied to you. The slingshot went off. Zed picks out the Jinx. The Lulu goes down as well. The Zac passive falls far too late, and Repeat has no mana, no hope. It's just N Chinese in there, and even with an ultimate, he wouldn't have been able to do it. He falls as well as it's a 5-0. SRG takes the gold lead with that, and you can only imagine how painful this is going to be. Look at how big the wave is in the mid lane. Look at that. There's a cannon in there. There's 2 cannons in there. How often do you see 2 nearly full health cannon minions in a wave while none of your opponents are alive? This mid turret is not just dead, it is gone on arrival. My god, I'm actually blown away by this wave. They might be able to shove this and actually take like serious damage onto the Nexus if they want to do. They have to give all their lives for it, but that's a massive wave. Obviously, it's better here to back up and steal the jungle as the 100% play, and we'll see Ezreal doing that. I imagine if Tryndamere was here doing the same, unfortunately, and he's actually going to hate this in the CS. That's actually how he stayed ahead pretty much all this game. Ezreal might not get the blue buff though, actually, and he's going to be able to phase shift away, get out of the Wukong. Leaving him to clear a ward here, and that's shoving late now in the top for SRG. That means they should be looking to group in the bottom lane, get that shoving out as well, and kind of play the 2-3 or the 1-4. Obviously, that's 1 in the top and 4 in the bottom, or 4 in the top and 1 in the bottom. I'm not particularly picky. I think that you should look to get that top outer first. But the really important thing is that they don't go into the mid lane, because obviously the mid lane will shove itself. Just the inhibitor minion, or the, what are they called, super minions, will shove the wave in. They act as a 6-man. They're going to threaten the Nexus all game, or at least for the next 5 minutes. So I really suggest they go for this. It doesn't look like SRG is actually going to do that, though. They're playing in their own jungle right now. Maybe a bit of this is about information control, but I think they're just looking for the moment. Gripe, though, does jump out onto the Zac. He has a Yuumi on him, though. I'm not sure this play is going to work. Uses W to get forward. Dodges the shockwave, too. That is the first immaculate Zed play we've seen out of man. He's even going to use the E at the perfect time to kill the stopwatch. Is this a different Zed player? Did someone else chair? I'm kind of confused because honestly, I just haven't seen that clean level of play. And I mean, looking at his stat line, maybe I just haven't been watching, but what I just saw right there was spectacular. That was, I mean, textbook. Everything about it was the perfect play to make at the perfect time. And that's what's so hard about it, is that, you know, he really had to make all of the right plays and to come away looking just so clean there. In the bot side, though, Trendemir does take the turret while Zach just whacks away at him, and Chinese dies for it. But I think he's content having cracked the base open. It does look like SRG will take this Baron, though. Maybe we're going to see a steal. This time, though, it is Jinx. It's not a jungler. We're obviously dead. Yeah, no, that's the Baron going over. Sejuani now is going to jump out and push the Jinx. And with Lulu dead, I actually think that this play might end up costing them more than they had bargained for, even if they can kill the Jinx here. Yeah, this is obviously the classic Sedge combo. She knocks up the 4 stacks and uses the ultimate, and that's why she's able to solo the Jinx. Now, if you don't know, that's 20% of her max health done there, because what the Sejuani does is stacks up the passive and then goes for the ultimate, effectively leading to 2 massive stacks there with Frozen. It just deals 20%, 10% each time. Absolutely devastating. I mean, it's enough to get easy on the Sejuani, right? It's kind of laughable, but it's real. Now, and this is what I meant by this is really going to cost the side of Soundless. Losing the ADC means that there's no answer now. And even the Shockwave, it just can't be on. There's no ADs there to playably deal the damage, you know, kind of make it work. The Lulu comes in, there's no Wukong there to dive in and follow up with Lulu off the Ying. They just can't lure their kind of CC and ultimates the way that they properly want to on Soundless, and a lot of that falls on the shoulders of this bot lane dying in that inopportunity. 20-5 is the kill score, and it's just showing that SRG is going to win these fights over and over again. Into the draft and the next, I can't imagine it's actually going to get much better for Soundless, because SRG should now look to exploit this, as we do see in Ignite. It's going to be big auto attacks coming down from the Trendemir. Zach looks to get the slingshot away, does get it. The E over the wall, though, and the Jinx Rocket does force a flash out of his. Trendemir uses the E to get forward, running into the Sejuani grip, is going to be able to take out one set down. Golden goes over to the Lulu, and that's going to be another kill going over. That's Orianna saves the Shockwave to be able to pick out the Ezreal. Smart play there, actually takes out the big man carry, and here comes Zach now. He's in a 1v2. Looks to take out the Lulu, but is not able to do it as she's sitting at over 2 health right now, and he uses another slingshot to get away. That's how he's 3-0-8. It's just constant slingshots to get and once he actually gets a Warmogs too, he's going to be able to do this at a much more reliable state. Sejuani able to make the play to stop anywhere, though. He's going to take the all-in. I don't know if he wins. Yeah, the sun should stop him. Undying Rage is forced. Sejuani now looking to make the play, and she actually gets it all her own. Michael 6'9" is a monster on this Sejuani. Yeah, this is just... Watching him out every major carry on the side of Soundless is just so satisfying as a Sejuani player. Like, he's just doing everything. He even did the combo that only top Sejuanis really do, where you stack up all the things and then you use the ultimate after. Like, that's just, it's so refreshing to see. That's another cue that's just gonna miss him back. Hopefully the vision does get cleared here properly. That ward actually is in an inopportune spot. You can sneak a ward in next to those little pink lilies, and that's where I would have actually liked to have seen Lulu place that ward, right next to where the Ocean Drake kind of illuminating sign is. Obviously, the control ward vision only covers the whole pit if it's placed near the center of it. But this dragon will spell 3 only, and not a soul. It means it's not a must-take for either side, but it definitely feels good. Oh wait, that ward actually isn't being seen by the control ward. It's that bad. If one Zed is forced to secure this one, Lulu ultimate will force the back off, and I think SRG just wants to leave here. You've gotten what you wanted, and now you just want out. And yeah, they actually take the advice. Means they're gonna look to escape now and try to make a play for these kind of standing towers in the last inhibitors. Also now, shoving the mid lane is again an option for SRG, who desperately wants to crack open an inhibitor again and kind of get that 6-man rolling, so that way they might be able to crack open the other 2 towers without even a fight. Now, I'm not sure when the Baron will spawn next, but that will be the next major objective on the map, I believe, so I'm gonna try and pull that up. Great, we got a Baron coming up in 2 minutes, so that actually will be the next major objective on the map. Not even another red buff or blue buff spawning before it, so that means what the team's got right now is what the team's got right now. If we do a quick summoner spell check, we'll see that Wukong and Trendemir will be getting their flashes back up in the middle of the fight. Orianna is going to fight this Baron without a flash, and the side of SRG is going to be sporting 3 flashes, a down flash on Zach, which might come up in the middle, and a Yuumi. as Repeat gets soloed out here, forced to use the Zonias and an ultimate from Lulu to stay alive, but an ultimate out of the Ezreal is going to be enough to take it. On that said, Grip does pick out the kills onto all of them, and Grip is just running a clinic right now on this Wukong. I've been asking to see something, and finally I do. Unfortunately, I also see a little bit of an end. No, he was just giving it to the Jinx. We saw the shutdown gold. That's what happened there. I know, but you wanted to give the Jinx the shutdown gold. As now this means that the middle is going to crack open as Soundless wins their first 5v5 fight of the game. Not really 5v5, but they won a real team fight. That ultimate in is going to spell the end there for the Jinx. Does not stand a chance against that death mark. Lou getting knocked up against Greg, whereas the Zac doesn't deal enough damage actually to keep on going forward here. And Tryndamere now cracking open the top side. He's looking to take another inhibitor turret. Unfortunately, I don't think he actually has the ability to do that against these two. So we do see the vision from Soundless here is actually very good. They know that this Baron is the next target, and now there's only 2 control wards. Yep, once they get that one, they're going to look to get the one on Baron, and then they have total vision of this area. Now, the real thing that's sweet about this is they didn't actually have to do the kind of old Korean 3-minute trick. And with their kind of minions in the base, they also know that that's 5 members in the base. This Baron should be rather free. We're talking 18 seconds on it, not a member of Soundless here, though. They should be camping these bushes and waiting for the approach. I'm sorry, but that's just the 100% play you need to be taking right now. You need Orianna in the mid lane shoving, that's proper, because you do need a shoving mid lane, but then outside of that, what you want is 5 members or 4 members in a bush, and you just want to be waiting for them to walk up right where they're walking right now and try to get a pick, because you'll actually find them right now without the Ezreal if they take that fight. Orianna walks right over, and I think that that's actually a win for them, especially if you catch them face check. Unfortunately, though, that means SRG now gets wards, and Soundless, all that time they spent clearing them out is kind of moot because SRG has been back in. Here's another death mark out from the Zed. But that's going to be a shockwave landing on the 2 of them. Unfortunately, it's not enough to stop the devastation that is Zed right now. 11, 2, and 4. Sitting on 2 lethality items. 1 straight armor pen percent. Guardian Angel, and a Black Cleaver. This man is ready for war. It's one hell of a Zed build. SRG does take down the inhibitor, and that's going to be a big ultimate from the Sejuani onto the Jinx. It's going to force her out of this fight immediately and force Stripe to give his life to stop the engage onto his ADC. It's a good reflex, but it's a reflex that might have been too late. As with 2 members dead, is this going to spell the end right now for Soundless? Is SRG able to make this play work? Guardian into good pop from the Zed. The flash forward comes in from the Tryndamere. He's looking to take out Mako 69. He knows who the target is. Then he slaps the Zed. Throws over with the E. They get 3 in the engagement, but they cannot get all 5, and that means that Ezreal and Zac are able to clean up the Nexus, win the game for SRG, and it was not easy, it was not clean, but they did it. That's going to bring this game to a 1-0. So, I finally got the stats open. We're going to take a quick look here. Really curious about the Tryndamere's jungle camps. And he actually didn't take nearly as many as I thought. Jinx actually took more than him, so that must have just been an early game kind of move as him. And Ezreal actually ended up taking 50 jungle camps that game. So that's really impressive out of him. If we're looking over at the damage numbers, strikingly, Orianna and Tryndamere each have 27,000, but topping off the charts at 28,000 is Jinx, which means all 3 members of Soundless were actually doing the damage in these fights. Maybe it was an issue of the team composition that was drafted for them. I actually don't think that they outright lose fights, kind of given that information. I'm looking kind of for the shame stats before we kick it over to a break, and I only see 1 shame stat, and that shame stat goes over to the Tryndamere bought 0 control wards this game. As good as you were playing in Chinese, you do have to buy control wards, buddy. Sorry to tell you, they are indispensable. Would really like to have seen one of those. But outside of that shame stat, everybody else seemed to be at least playing the game of League of Legends. So we're going to kick it back to a break. And I think for game 2, I might even have another color caster. Who knows? We'll be back with you later, though. Thanks.
Again, you wanna dose of this right now it's KD. I'm a goddess with a blade. 소리처럼 나 이름 잊지 못하게 loud, 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 loud. I could take you to the top. 절대 멈추지 못해. 내가 끝내주는 bad girl, girl, girl. And when I start to talk that, oh you know how to react. I'm a picture perfect face. 언제든지 내 모습 매직 단 한 번에 내가 잡아 절대 기죽지 않지 펴펴 네가 뭘 알아 견딜 수 없어 원해도 원하는 게 얼굴에 보여 I'm troubling you running it I'm so cold when I move that way you gon' be so blown I'm the realest in the game said I'm on fire with the blade you're about to hear my name ringing in your head like whoa so keep your eyes on me now 무엇을 보던 좋아할 거야 We're so tough let's get it show you out Can you feel the rush now Ain't nobody bringing us down 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 They could try but we gonna wear the crown You could go another round 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 Wish you luck but you're not bringing us down Go hard till we get it we go hard We're so in it we pop stars Only winning now Ain't nobody bringing us down 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 난 멈추지 않아 we go hard we pop stars Ain't nobody bringing us down 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 They could try but we gonna wear the crown You could go another round 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 Wish you luck but you're not bringing us down We go hard till we get it we go hard We're so in it we pop stars Only winning now Ain't nobody bringing us down 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 down
Every child in Valorant has heard the tale before about the cursed mommy boy who felt his heart no more. So sad and lorn, the helpless lad, Amumu was his name. He ventured out to find a friend and learn about his bane. For many years, young Amumu traveled through the lands, determined to make friends if only they would understand. But even when Amumu stood upon the ledge of home, his hope would disappoint him and he would remain alone. But then the curse began to whisper in his ear and would confirm what was Amumu's biggest fear. It pledged that never shall someone become his friend. It pledged that he shall be alone until his end. But sorrow and despair had won. The anger and the anguish overwhelmed his fragile soul and caused a wicked tantrum that he never could control.
Welcome to the world, no heroes and villains. Welcome to the war, we've only begun. So pick up your weapon and face it. There's blood on the ground, go and take it. You get one shot to make it out alive. So higher and higher you chase it. It's deep in your bones, go and take it. This is your moment, now is your time.
Welcome back to Game, ladies and gentlemen. Sit straight here, joining you again, and joining me this time on the cast is Hunike. I'm sure he's very glad to be joining us after having witnessed that last game. Now, we were talking a little bit in the pregame about kind of what we thought about the different teams and their strategies, and you actually had an interesting take, I think, on the Soundless esports. So, do you want to kind of like talk about where you think that they kind of went wrong in that game?
Yeah, like early on, like if you're against two tanks, like you really need some sort of way of dealing with them. And like they did one good fight in the mid lane where Set was not there, and they decided to go front to back, which is the way they do it. That's the way they win with a Lulu Jinx and Orianna for that matter. So like you just go front to back, and then you win, and don't overforce into a Set who's gonna one shot your Jinx because you don't react fast enough.
Yeah, and the front to back is always a weird thing to say when you're going into a tank, but we had never actually saw them go for a front to back style team fight, right? There was never a moment where they were kind of grouped as 5, playing on a choke point with vision, and they kind of took the proper fight. And that was my biggest gripe actually with them, is more the vision control. I didn't really see them playing around the vision or choking out the vision. Sometimes you saw them lay down proper vision lines, but you never saw them play around them properly, in my opinion, if that does make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense because that is the way to do it with the comp they had, but they decided not to do it.
And this game, we'll see how this goes. I do think the composition also is just a little 2000 and maybe 16 for me, honestly. It's a very old composition, and at this point, it's just, I think League of Legends has developed at a point past, playing Lulu Jinx. At least
Yeah,
I think it has.
it's not really what's good. Like it's not unplayable, sure, but there's just stuff that's better.
Yeah,
and I
you do
really
the
hope I
bans
see
very
some
much.
of this stuff that's better this time around.
Well, they actually did have good bans, in my opinion, which is interesting, because that's not one of my biggest criticisms, at least with SRG compared to other leagues that I see, is the bans always seem really amiss to me. They're normally really specific instead of more to the meta, and I think that the meta actually tends to trump comfort on a lot of players, right? There's obviously those players who, like, you don't let them get Echo, you don't let them get Darius, but they're far and few between that they're the players that good that you just don't let them get a pick.
Yeah,
I do
obviously.
agree, though, this Zed might be one.
Yeah, but obviously, like this is lower elo, right? So that's where meta is not as important, and where comfort picks comes in as a more reliable way of making your team work. Because sure, the champion is strong, but maybe the guy doesn't play it because, well, he's focused on something else. So like maybe try and put them on something that's comfortable, but still makes sense.
Yeah, no, and that's really fair. I think that that's kind of the crossroads you want to find, right? You want to find a good mix of meta and comfortability, especially the lower the elo gets. But I'd even say diamond players want the same thing, right? And we actually see this work out in the LCS and the LEC. Both leagues very frequently have players picking comfort picks, where even though nobody else in the meta is playing it, they are. Reckless, one of those people who absolutely loves to do it. We do see Kleb though locked in. I actually don't think Kleb really loses a matchup. Maybe to Fiora, but even then.
Oh, Fiora beats up Kled, yeah,
But even then, like, it's still a Kled. And if you've played the matchup, it's not the worst pick. We do see Cassiopeia locked in though. This is something that was banned away that's now actually going to get through in light of an Ezreal ban. And I do think the Cassiopeia is something that's very good, especially in the club, but especially in any elo that isn't Diamond Plus. You see her win rate actually just drop. Like, you can go look up these stats if you just like don't trust me. Something about Cassiopeia and her miasma is just broken, and even I have trouble playing around it. Like, it's awful, and like it's devastating. I've actually coached teams and watched all 5 members stand on top of the miasma and lose more than a few times. Wukong, obviously, again, for grip, and I think it's only going to be better for him. He kind of got into a stride there. Nautilus also locked in. Nautilus, a really interesting pick. Paired with the Sejuani, though, more than interesting, devastating.
yeah. Right now they're building the kind of same combos they did before with the let's have a big ass front line and see if we can't just walk them over.
Well, you can actually put this Nautilus in the mid, right?
Oh, you could, but if this is Cassiopeia mid, you kind of don't want to put Nautilus in there.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, you'll be murked. She'll be at the
No,
end.
so you did draft Vayne. Vayne is a perfect tank killer. Obviously, her passive deals very, very much damage when it comes to attacking tanks. So yeah, that would be a good pickup, and Casio is really good at dealing with things that want to run at you anyways.
if you actually see, they have no real answer to any of this. The classic answer to Vayne is like build health, right? But it doesn't actually work because she deals true damage and it's based on health. So like she ends up bleeding through it pretty quickly when she ends up getting the Bork too. It's just a bad combo. But also with the Wukong, who's going to burn through armor, and the Cassiopeia, who's going to deal magic damage, the side of Soundless just has 3 threats right off the bat, which means they can now draft Comfort in these last 2 picks.
Yeah,
and they can try to win the game with them, in my opinion.
Like I still don't like it because right now you don't have anywhere for Wukong to play around. You can't play around mid because you have a Cassiopeia, and that's not a place you want to play around as Wukong. So this means they have to pick a good matchup for top lane. But then again, that's Kled.
Yeah, and I mean, they'll at least know the matchup. So if they can get, in my opinion, right, the Fiora, the Set's obviously banned, and I think Set is a decent matchup into Kled, but Kled doesn't really have many bad matchups. That's why we get excited. Tahm Kench being spanned by Wintex. Don't forget that, or Wictex. It's actually been being massively spammed by this man. Like, I'm talking, I've seen like 6 or 7 games in a row on his account. I would love to see it. I really think it's going to get locked in. I don't think it's a troll.
No, it would make sense in the fact that you can protect Vayne a bit more. But then again,
Yeah.
now you made sure you can't play around bot side either.
No, I agree with you with that. But this is
So,
also, I think, the power of
Where
this
is
counter.
Wukong gonna go?
Well, Wukong is going jungle. This is what Grip plays.
Oh yeah, obviously, but where is he gonna
It's up
be
to
playing around?
Wictech, I think, to pick something here that has gank assist, right? Because that's obviously what you mean when you say for something for the Wukong to play around, right? The Cassiopeia doesn't have traditional gank assist because she doesn't have a way to slow CC or otherwise harass the enemy to make Wukong have the easier time. Because Wukong, till level 6, will not have a way to harass CC or, whatever the enemy. But we'll see what top laner gets locked in. There are a lot of picks they could, potentially lock in, like an Ornn, or even like a Zac again.
Yeah, but then again, that's not a place for Wukong to play around.
You don't think he could play around an Ornn or a Zac?
No.
Then what do you have in mind? Because I think that really any type of CC or, hard lockdown is going to be enough to kind of get them through. Nami's not it.
If they lock his Nami, that means it's Tahm Kench top lane.
I'm going to hit the X for doubt.
Yeah, it's Tahm Kench
Tahm
top lane.
Kench top lane. So Tahm Kench top lane, very good pick. The best way
No,
that I can describe it...
It's not good anymore. They nerfed it to the ground
did
to
they?
make sure you couldn't play it top lane. Sure,
Can you
it's
explain
still decent, but like the way it was before is you could purpose on people with your Q and make sure when you eat them you dealt a shit ton of damage. So like that was what made him so oppressive.
Yep.
But right now you're picking him into Kled. Kled is just gonna roll over this Tahm Kench after level 4, and he has a Serenity with him. So they're gonna be proccing the Serenity passive really fast and making sure Tahm Kench is not in the game. So I have no idea why they decided to draft Tahm Kench here. Makes
Actually, that
no
is
sense.
really fair. He's going to have a hard time getting away and moving. And if they have nerfed his damage, I actually didn't know they had nerfed his top lane damage like that, because I've seen this not just beat up like people who are bad at the game, but I've seen this royally beat people who are good at the game.
Oh yeah, like
I mean,
the
I would
champion was
consider
uber
very
broken at some point when he came to top lane on the fact that he just ran people down level 1.
Yeah, and I mean, I've literally, like I say, when I say very good, I mean, like, I've seen people who were, they've been into the master tier of the game, nearly crying in comms because Tahm Kench had killed them for the 3rd or 4th time before level 6.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
really, really bad type of gameplay where you just don't know what to do and you feel powerless. And I'm talking, the highest levels of play couldn't deal with him. But again, the nerf mean that's a totally irrelevant conversation. But we'll have to see how it plays out again, because sometimes miracles happen. Now, we do know the Sejuani, though, is just absolutely incredible. And drafting it with the Nautilus and the Kled is so devastating, because both of them have the ability to kind of work with her passive in a way that is just not going to be pleasurable for Soundless. In the top lane is where it's going to be the worst, right? And you've already talked about this, but it's really because the Kled's going to get the attack speed on his W, which means he's going to stack 3 bits of the passive almost instantly for Sejuani. Like, I laugh just thinking about how funny it's gonna look.
There's just no way SRG should lose this game. Like, there's absolutely no way they should lose. Like, they have a winning.
Well, the mid lane is
basically
also.
everywhere.
I mean, you can talk about the mid lane, because the mid lane is, in my opinion, actually the worst counter matchup on the map. Even though I think the top lane's bad, I think it's survivable. I don't think Cassiopeia ends up getting out against Syndra, and because the game is looking so mid game oriented, I don't think the scaling comes in.
No. Like, they pick double scaling carry and a Wukong. That's it. Like, there's
one way to
nothing
put
more
it.
to say. Like, you just lose against Lucian. Lucian Nautilus is going to beat up Vayne Nami, especially when you have Serenity. And then you have Syndra just beating out and Cassiopeia all by herself. And Wukong can't really do anything because, well, what's he going to do?
Well, he already had a hard time
Gank Tahm
ganking
Kench.
because he needs the gank assist on Cassiopeia. But now with the Syndra just being able to scatter the weak, the Wukong away, he's not even going to be able to stick onto her. So it's not even that, it's hard for him to get him with his laner. It's hard for him to get in against the enemy laner. Now we look towards the bot lane, and this is where there is a slither of hope. And I say this because, again, myself, Vayne is a problem champion. I have something like a 17% win rate when playing against her in the ADC role. It's awful for me against Vayne. So do you want to tell me how this matchup plays with Lucian Nautilus against Vayne Nami?
Well, obviously Lucian is better early game.
Mhm.
No denying that one. If Vayne Nami manages to survive laning phase without getting killed over and over again by Serenity Nautilus, then yeah, maybe there's a chance that Vayne could go 1v5 with the protection of Tahm Kench and Nami. But that just leaves Wukong alone on the backline against Syndra
Wukong
Lucian.
will be a non-factor. I think we've already seen
Oh yeah,
that.
Wukong is non-factor this game. Like, he has no way of getting into this game. Unless
There's
SRG
no
team decides to run it down, then yeah, he's not getting in this game.
Exactly. He always has the miracle, which honestly is like, finding a low health Sejuani somewhere she shouldn't be or another member rotating. There's always the miracle option to kind of see these people end up getting in. We're talking, in a traditional proper sense of play in most sense of cases. And I mean, we can hope for miracles. Miracles are what make the game interesting.
Oh yeah, but I don't believe in miracles in this game.
I feel like that's like a really bad song that would play at a Disney Channel movie. Like, I don't believe in
like,
miracles.
no, there's just no way SRG loses this one.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
Wukong needs to go full lethality. Like, he needs to one-shot Lucian Syndra. Like, he needs
I'd
to
agree there.
completely one-shot them.
there was a
then they
really
have a
long
chance.
time where I one-trick Nocturne, and I definitely learned that you build a whole bunch of lethality. And I mean, it's been tried and true for years now that you just do it on a whole bunch of champions.
Yeah,
Looks
but
like we
yeah,
are gonna be,
that's the way
getting into
I see them winning, because you have Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is gonna be completely useless. Like, completely useless. They put their highest ranked player on Tahm Kench. Like, we saw the guy last game. He's just gonna be sitting in a side lane. This time, at least, he has TP.
He is very good too, which is interesting to say that they've put him on Tahm Kench, because Tahm Kench doesn't do much. Yeah, so it looks like I'm at least ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Count us down, Reed. And everybody is loaded onto the rift. Hopefully no pauses, no connection issues. Let's all say a prayer to our deity or non-deity of choice real quick. Or don't pray. I don't know. Whichever way you want to go about this. I just really hope there's no connection issues. It looks like
to be
it's a
fair,
4-stack.
The servers has been really bad when it comes to
Yeah, no, I know. It does look like Lucian's going in for the 5-point here, so will Nautilus, but Nautilus is going to appear just in the nick of time to spot out what is a full-on invasion of his jungle. Eats the first auto attack, the second auto attack, and a third from the Lulu. Does force out a flash. I think he could have just started Q there. And you see a little symbol come out cheering.
he did start Q. Like, Nautilus did start Q.
Yeah, that's really interesting then that he didn't Q away. Flash obviously much more important to save. The W is very good for trading, but it's not so good that it's worth your flash to start it. Interesting choice though, it happens. We're not gonna, flame him for it. At least he didn't die, right? Also though, we didn't mention this yet. For those of you who don't know, Soundless actually primarily communicates with pings and the such, because they're a team, I believe, entirely comprised of people who are hard of hearing or, certified deaf. So it's actually a cool little bit of information that we figured we'd wait till the start of game 2 to throw out.
I just realized Nami started E.
That's interesting. Yeah, Nami E, I don't even think you get that second, right? You get that third, I'm pretty sure.
But if they want to invade, why start E?
No, 100% you start Q, but I feel like that's not even the... regardless, it happens. Making personal choices here on a personal lane. In the top side, though, Kled gets the first CS in the lane, and what that means is he's also going to get the push advantage with it. For those of you who don't know, normally it's the side that first gets the minions who's going to get the push advantage in the solo lanes. The bot lane works a little bit different. Well, it's weird to call it a push advantage, because a lot of times it is a push disadvantage.
Yeah, I would like to see this Syndra trying to abuse the Casio a bit more, especially level 1, but kind of giving the lane over.
Ooh, very good all in there, and that's actually going to shove out the Vayne. I think kind of shut down the condition where Vayne, gets a unnatural early lead, but obviously the Lucian Nautilus just so much better than Vayne Nami. Both really looking for their level 6 before they want to be at full strength. Here's Kled though, on to the Kench. We'll see if Kench if he doesn't actually land any bit, he gets full stacks. Should have been able to knock him off the Scarl there. It's really unfortunate for the Kench.
Yeah, and like bot lane lost both their flashes because Nami started E.
Ooh, that was very clean Vayne play there. Has about a 25 range advantage on the Lucian and is using it there to just poke him down perfectly. I feel like he could have landed one auto at least, but he was definitely tunnel vision on the CS. Here's Kled again though, going on to the Tahm Kench. And taking enough mid aggro that he uses the away, which is smart. Wukong is pinging on the way. This looks to be the lane that he wants to impact first.
Yeah, I don't know why he's going, like, I don't know. It's just
we
weird
need-
drafting Tahm Kench.
Yeah, I feel like that what happened is they wanted Tahm Kench in the bot lane and decided against it because, again, I'm really confident WickTech has been playing it quite a bit. But maybe I just misunderstood. It looks like in the top lane it's a full-on 2v2. Scarl does get disengaged. Grip still has the rope on, but it's actually on the clone. He's already out of the fight and dethroned the Scarl, or Kled, sorry, for right now. Q just misses. That was a lot of confidence there from WickTech and Deseret to just kind of, stand still and take it. Or not take it in this case.
Both junglers kind of just falling back to... Kind of sad nobody went for the bot cuddle, to be fair. They both started bot side, so they were both going towards top side anyways. So
yeah, and you see the on the way ping come from Wukong, who's letting his team know he's going to be going to that scuttle next. So the play is in the works, although the pig stun comes out from the Vayne. And unfortunate for the Nautilus, so another Q goes astray. That means the Ignite's going to go down, and good enough that Lucian is going to have to back up, but they will not get the kill here, and I don't think they can play any more forward. Flash does, or sorry, the teleport comes out, and so does the flash, and the bubble lands, though. It's a double teleport. The ruse is on, and here comes SRG, ready to clean up the bot lane. Their win condition is in full effect, and they knock her back. It's a full slaughter for SRG. I was, just being passive. I didn't expect it, but the double teleport got me. Imagine how that felt for Soundless for Soundless Esports.
oh yeah, they timed the double teleport really perfectly. Like, it really looked like one. But that was quite good. But really way too aggressive from the Nami Vayne. They should have just taken the trade of alright, we've kind of forced him out of lane. I get to free farm a bit more.
And you had gotten the summoner spells, right? I think once you saw the teleport, it was the decision to back up that was smartest. I mean, even the Nami lands the bubble to, make the disengage best. So you can't blame WickTech there. Kind of for the failures of the bot lane. It's really just all on the Vayne, who decides to play all the way up and doesn't even get the kill for it. And you got to think what that does to your mental. Maybe these players are stronger than me, but I would definitely be feeling the strain of that one.
Oh yeah. But it's just a slight miscommunication error. But yeah, then again, they are only pinging, so they might have different ideas about how to play it, and it was just a little mishap.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like that there's not a lot to be said on that one. I feel like LS kind of has this phrase he says where it's an unwritten language of the game, where at the highest levels you can kind of just play forward without even having to ping or communicate at all. Because he was trying to understand why people get banned for talking. Because he's like, I don't even talk in my games at all. I rarely ping whatever else. But apparently when you do get up to a high enough level, and I mean it makes sense. You play by the clock so much that there's just things to do at the right time.
Yeah. Like, the Vayne Nami is actually taking good trades in bot lane, staying away from the Lucian when they trade onto Nautilus, which is good.
Oh, wow, that stun is finally going to be, kind of executed on him. Forces out, the ultimate from Cassiopeia. Repeat's definitely going to feel the strain of that ultimate missing as the Q does land from Nautilus. The stun connects right after, and that's a beautiful chain, which is going to allow Ham to get the kill in the bot lane. Second death onto the Vayne as another stun goes on to the Cassiopeia, who's going to die there. Syndra did use her ultimate. You didn't really see it there because it was kind of unnecessary, and that means the disengage should be on, although Grip is going to pick up a weird kill here, which turns into a second onto the Sejuani. It's a double kill for the Wukong, and he's popping the second set of the ultimate. He's going to dethrone the Kled but probably won't. Oh, he's going in for this. He gets the triple. The man you said would not find the moment in this game to be useful is the only man of any use. And right now, actually, with a gold lead is Soundless Gaming.
Yeah, that was that was well played by the Wukong.
He did that all perfectly. I mean, I didn't see a flaw.
If he buys tank item again when he's 3-0, yeah.
You gonna call him a troll?
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I mean, I'm very, very honest and open when it comes to calling people trolls when I think they're trolls.
I'm looking at Switch right now. The coach is saying he will buy damage. So I'm trusting him to be right about that one.
I think he's actually. Oh, nice flash there, and actually just plays perfectly with the stealth. He does get spotted on that ward both times, which means they know exactly where he is. He uses the E to get over and beats the blasting comb from the Syndra, who is going to land the stun anyway. And the stun chain does come from Serenity. 10% of his health will give her the shutdown gold, and a thumbs up comes out of Syndra.
Yeah, so I'm expecting him to buy a lot of AD. Alright, he's buying Tiamat and double longsword. Let's go. That's what we like to see. Buy some damage, buy some lethality, one-shot some people. The good old Wukong guys. That's pretty much all you did. EQ, alt, someone did. Boom, I want to see it again.
EQ alt and someone dead. It's possible. You need full lethality to do it. We do see the Tiamat comes out, obviously, to help the jungle clear. But we'll watch this build as it develops. Syndra, obviously, winning the lane that should be won, although Cassiopeia finally getting some good damage down and is going to get that Conqueror proc. Something we didn't talk about was Conqueror on the cast, although does get caught out here by a Sejuani and only gets the stun onto the Syndra. And again, Mickle69 is just so good on this Sejuani that he can solo out anybody, it seems. Really making this pick look way stronger than I thought it was. Nautilus, though, makes the engage now to avenge his dead jungler, who just tried to get away, doesn't even get the assist credit there. Stun does land onto Kled, though, and Tom Kent's going to show the power of this lane. Again, doubtful of the Tom Kent into Kled. Now has a 23 CS lead with a massively better kill-death ratio. Soundless is looking in command of at least 2 spots in the map.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He should never be able to die.
Oh, Nami, you shouldn't be there. Sorry to cut you off, but you gotta let them know when they die. And it's a flash
obviously.
My God, I really didn't expect her to get deleted that quickly, but what are you even standing there?
I think they were just trying to look at if they were doing Drake when their jungle is upside.
Actually. Yeah, they didn't have vision, so they were checking. That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so at least they're not haphazardly walking around the river. Here comes Wukong, though. Wait, that's a total chance to steal, and he actually makes up in. Grip is definitely laughing after that one. Just silly. That's lucky. It's silly. It's good.
I really would love to see the Sejuani just play more around his bot side right now. Like, maybe drag the Syndra down there as well, and just make sure you keep this bot lane down, because sure, the Wukong is ahead now, but in the late game, unless he manages to one-shot, then he's gonna die, because he is going full damage, so that means they rely on Vayne and Casio later on, and Casio is behind right now because the Syndra is oppressive. So
yeah, and
now you just want to keep them down.
More behind, right?
Yeah, the Vayne is also behind, yeah, but you want to make sure like you keep them behind.
If you, I'm just pointing out that the Cassiopeia is behind, and the Vayne is even more behind than her. Both their carriers are just in woeful positions.
Yeah. Like, and top lane is kind of lost now for Kled because he didn't exploit the fact that he could just beat down the Tahm Kench early on. But he lost his way of dealing with Tahm Kench as of right now.
As though I say it frequently, what really happens with tank stats? As we do see the engage from Nautilus, this is going to be a death, at least for the Vayne. Teleport gets channel means it's 4 people from the side of SRG joining the party. I don't think there's enough Wukong ultimates in the world to make this work. Does get the kill on the Ham. That's going to be the end of him, and big shutdown gold will connect over to the Kled, who dives forward, and with Scarl, we'll be able to take the turret aggro like that. How many plays do you think they get? The whole turret?
No, I don't think they can get the whole turret. Always remember the fact that turrets get a shit ton more resistances if you're more than 1 people.
I think it's 4, right? It's to be 3.
So yeah,
I
they
believe-
can't get the next blade because they don't deal enough damage to it.
I feel bad because Sejuani actually takes some attack speed, which helps her passive and it helps jungle clear. Had they had Nautilus back, the Kled and Sejuani actually might have been able to even get that second plate.
Yeah, they might have been able to get one more plate. But now you see
This is
Tom
the-
Kent's just taking top third.
Yeah, and that's really devastating, actually. And I mean, he's just showing that even though it's the strongest member on the team, and you put him on Tom Kent, he's actually going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, but
It's not
he's
gonna
gonna
get
fall.
any-
He's gonna fall off so hard.
I mean, I feel like he only falls off if he misplays. I do agree again that tank stats are weakless, kind of useless in comparison to what damage can do for a team when we're talking scaling. But the Tom Kent is going to be able to save the Vayne and the Cassiopeia from some of the situations they haven't been saved from. And when it comes time to kind of deal with him, and he's used his saving tools, it's
Yes,
not
but
going to be
that-
an easy feat.
No, but that means he has to join the team. You know, like you only seen him join the team once in 2 games, basically.
That is fair. Him as the player, we haven't seen him join the team. I gave him the benefit of the doubt on the Tryndamere. We'll see if any teleports do actually get channeled this game, though. He also didn't have teleporting in the Tryndamere game.
Oh, I'm just waiting to see outside of when they decide, all right, now it's done for laning phase. I want to see what he decides to do then. If he sticks to the side lane or he honestly does the Tom Kent's job, which is make sure my carry is alive.
Which would be the proper thing, and I mean, it'll be at least an interesting development. I think it'll be a game-changing one as well. To watch how this gets played. Is great. Again, in with the team, although his clone gets spotted out, and he even eats up a Syndra ultimate for him. And he's going to dive in, gets the ultimate onto only 2 of them. Miasma comes down, that's not going to hit anybody. Repeat does get the ultimate down on the Syndra, and Tom Kench is looking to solo her out. And Repeat's just looking to try and kite his way around as Tom Kench does get the shutdown gold onto the Syndra and flashes after the carry. He's really comfortable with joining his team on this one and does pick up the double kill onto Ham. Looking to make it a triple onto Michael, but it actually goes over to the carry, and he's going to use the ultimate now to get over onto the Nautilus. Here he goes, going to land the slow with the tongue lash, and that's really predictable. First auto attack, second auto attack, and double kill goes over to Repeat. Heal onto end Chinese. I think he just answered your question almost as if he was listening to you. He's going to group.
Yeah, he did the right thing. Like right now they're exploiting the fact that he's too tanky to die. So he's kind of like the perfect frontliner you want for a carry, you know.
And obviously, he deals a lot of damage too. He
Oh,
killed
yeah, he
2 of the
does.
people to start the fight. It's not that, he's not doing that. And I mean, even the triple kill was pretty much his. Repeat stole it, essentially, right? And it's the right decision. Give it over to the Cassiopeia, who had no kills before that fight. But it's still good to note that, I mean, besides him missing that, oh wait, that's his own trinket ward. Never mind. Yeah, it's just great play from the Tom Kench. So here comes the Flood ultimate. Is going to look to make a stop on this dragon. Wukong does pick it out. First stun lands on the Cassiopeia. Full damage goes down on the Repeat. Stun lands from the Sejuani. She's going to solo him out. And on the back end, Syndra does pick out the Wukong. Now Vayne's been picked out. She's going to use the flash forward. But the Syndra ultimate is going to deal so much damage that there's almost no way to stop it, especially when the Nautilus lands a stun. It's a double kill going over to Censorus Syndra. And now it's 7-2-3. It's time we got to start talking about the gold. 7,175. That number is absolutely ridiculous, and that's what Syndra holds with 7,700 is on Tom Kench. Do you think Syndra's scaling is going to continue to outmatch him?
Yeah, in the sense that once Syndra hits 2 items, she can basically one-shot Casher, she can one-shot Vayne, she can one-shot Nami, she can one-shot the full AD Wukong who didn't manage to... Alright, well that's one way to die as well.
Yeah, no, that's just a big misstep there. There's nobody there to watch it, and Bright dies as well. They're going in 1 by 1. The carry's on the back end and just not able to deal any damage. So there's almost no way to call it, and even this 4-man Miasma is just too little too late. They might even pick up 2 kills, but they've lost the inhibitor turret, and all they've done is answer back where both of their teammates had entered. A little bit of the overconfidence from SRG, but it's almost unexcusable to go in that kind of 1 by 1 fashion.
Yeah, that's how you give up. Like, they just gave free gold back. They greeted for the turret, and everybody just grouped up and made sure the Cashew would hit more than 1 guy with the ultimate, so that was a bit unfortunate, but they're still in a really good place. Like, this Wukong who got 3-0 early on has done absolutely nothing, because he can't do anything, because he has no way, like, there's no follow-up when he goes in. He's all alone in there, unless the Tom Kench flashes in with him.
That is very fair. He is pretty much all alone unless there's a Tom Kench in there with him. I'm not sure if the flash is 100% necessary, but it'll definitely help.
Yeah.
I feel like that a lot of this, though, is going to come down to kind of a paradigm shift, right? Obviously, and Chinese and Grip were able to take those type of fights in the, pre-14-minute, pre-one item on everybody mark, which is the real mark in the mid-game. But once it develops, it means it's now time to play passive. It's time to play around your team. It's time to let your carries dictate when you fight.
Yeah, and this is the point where like he's building for kind of a split push Tom Kench style with the Titanic Hydra coming next. So he's gonna be looking more to pressure side him because he beats pretty much anyone one-on-one at this point. So he's gonna be looking for that instead of grouping with the team. And SRG is smart, they just put Lucian against him. Like, Lucian should not be in danger of dying unless he walks up.
That's
Like,
100%. Even in this situation, I don't think it's enough
he did.
Yeah, even though he has, does he die? I think the teleport is going to seal his fate, although Ham does get the teleport away, and yeah, Cled's going to jump right back in here. Ham actually might die to the minion aggro, and a little bit of that Sunfire cape. Yeah, he should get question mark ping there. And I mean, Cled's going to pick up the kill, but that feels actually fine if you're the Tom Kench. And I mean, it's not a good play. It's not a worth play. It's actually poor macro and poor decision making. But
yeah, it's just a Lucian not respecting the fact that Tom Kench is so far ahead and deals a ton of damage. He should have known by now because when he died at Baron Pit earlier, it was the exact same thing. He got run down by Tom Kench. So why is he getting close to him?
The mistake was when he went back in, right?
Yeah.
Initially, he hadn't made that error. Initially, he kind of gets caught out in the bush, and I can understand that's a little razzling. But to walk back in is more than a mistake. Although we do see caught out here is the Cassiopeia double stun from the Syndra. Burns repeat with the ultimate, and Censorus might have just won his team the game with that stun. And I mean, obviously, it's the hook from Nautilus that starts it off, but it was just such nice follow-up that ends up sealing the deal and making that fight hopeless for the side of Soundless.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you want to fight with this comp. Just press R. Sejanio presses R, Syndra presses R, Nautilus presses R, and people die because, well, your tank is Tom Kench.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. You think it's Tom Kench. It's just how it'll end up working. And I mean, I feel like that it's not so much that though, that it's this Tom Kench too, right? If we saw him more playing with the team and on the Vayne more than anybody on the Cassiopeia, I think we'd have something good to say. But I haven't actually seen him use his ultimate to save his carries, who now have a combined 8 deaths. That's double like what the majority of them do have on his side. And I mean, Wukong even with 7. It's just kind of a disastrous number where you feel like Tom Kench might have been able to stop at least 1 or 2 of those.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you have your best player he has this play style, right? He plays pretty much for himself. In the way he's playing, like he's always in the side lanes. He's always the one pushing the side lanes. So maybe put him on something that's not a Tom Kench. Something carry potential like Jax, maybe like Aurelia. Something where you can snowball.
The dragon is going to go over, and obviously the side of SRG is very glad to have it. They're going to be able to stack 3 oceans, which feels pretty good, but it's actually, I think, in my opinion, the worst of all the stacks. It does look like they're pushing over onto the Rift Herald 2 here. I think the Rift Herald's actually a kind of nigh objective. You're better off just getting picks again in the jungle. I feel like it's something that a lot of teams kind of miss out on, that like this sitting in the jungle and playing around vision is always going to be strong. With a Lucian, so much stronger than the Vayne that he just runs her down in the mid lane. I've never seen anything like it. And the bubble predicts a run back, but Ham is going to go forward on this one, and that's what spells his death actually, as Nami plays it perfectly. Repeat gets a nice engage here with the teleport, but doesn't land any damage on top of it. Syndra ultimate's going to miss, but the stun's going to miss, but the ultimate will always connect. Repeat still gets the kill on the back end, though, able to kite him away. Here comes Cled ultimate, and Tom Kench eats it up beautifully. The flash away from Repeat is matched immediately by a flash from the Cled, and that's going to seal the deal for the Cassiopeia. But the stun does come in, and the death goes over, as that's a 2 for 3, and I mean, Soundless is coming away the victor of that one.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Tom Kench. You know, he's not devouring his teammates to save them.
I agree.
He could have saved the Cassiopeia. He was right next to Cassiopeia at that point, so he could have saved the Cassio from dying, but he didn't.
That's a very fair point there. I should have actually, right? Not even just could have, but the proper play would have been to save them.
Yeah, then they could have done the Baron.
Yeah, I agree actually, and that does. I mean, I'm not saying they could have got the Baron because it still would have been a fight. The Sejuani's still alive, and the Nautilus and Lucian are still alive, but they could have at least started it. It would have been a real threat, and instead they have to just walk away, right?
Yeah.
I do think that actually the Nautilus and Sejuani Lucian would have been enough to stop them on that Baron. Honestly, that probably would have been devastating for them in all considerations, right? Like that's the strong members of the team who are playing well. The only one you're missing is Syndra.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that Cinder bought a what's it called?
Morello
Magi's.
Namicon or Magi's?
No. Morello is fine against Casio and Nami heals, but it's the Magi Soul Steel I don't like.
Yeah, it's a little greedy. I guess if we went back and saw the build, if there's a Dark Seal in her inventory and it had enough stacks, it might make sense. But it would have had to have had like 8 or 10, but it would have had to have probably been 8 given how many you're drawn. Regardless, definitely a greedy build that did not work out given the current state of it. Here comes another forward calling from the Lucian. Doesn't deal nearly as much damage as the last one we saw. Got a little overhyped.
Well, to be fair, like it's still fine just using it. It's not a team fight ultimate,
I
so
agree.
it's okay to just throw it out.
Kled lands the rope, but is not actually going to land the kill here, I don't think. Although Sejuani's help will make it sure. And that's how they're going to go down now, as Wukong does get to use the ultimate the second time. He's going to be able to take out one. Runs away from the fight, though. Comes right back in. I don't think he actually had the damage to deal with Michael 6'9" and the whole team here. As Grip is now running back to a low health turret, which should just walk up and hit it. There we go, Ham. Good play from the Lucian. And now if they take this Baron here, this is just, I think, actually the perfect timing, right?
Oh yeah,
Everybody's
of
dead.
course. Like you
Nobody's
kill the
dead.
jungler, you kill the Casio. There's only Vayne and Tom Kench, and Tom Kench has to walk into you. Like he doesn't have a gap closer.
And
besides
with
his
2
flash.
oh, only 1 Bork. It's a little slower. If Kled was there too, this Baron would be dead by now.
Oh yeah.
Here comes Chinese though, and the Vayne. They are going to look to try and make a fight here. Kled does use the TP to come in. They're going to guarantee that this fight ends up a loss. As Michael 6'9" stays on the Baron, they solo out the Vayne, and it only takes the bot lane killer.
Yeah, Vayne shouldn't go in. They should just give it up. Because they can't contest it just being Tom Kench and Vayne. Especially when they see the Kled TP, it's just, alright, cool, we back off. We give up the Baron. Because they have to.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that it's the good play again. Wicktech actually on this Nami has been showing an incredible proficiency in my opinion. Someone who doesn't really get a whole lot of spotlight, at least in the comms or in the talk.
Yeah.
And a lot just because, you know, you're playing the support in a losing game. It's really hard to get credit. But I mean, you know, right from the bubbles in the bot lane at the early level 1 where, you know, one of the deaths comes into this low death rate now to just constantly finding a way to be there but not be in the wrong position. That's really tough. Especially on a support pick with no health. Like, it's one of those things where everyone, you know, likes to laugh about how supports get carried until you try to play somebody who dies in 3 hits and has to, you know, rely on other people to deal damage. And next thing you know, support's not a joke, it's actually a nightmare.
It can be a nightmare. What is a nightmare is watching the Wukong build Triforce again.
Why are you not
Like,
a fan of that one?
Because it makes no sense. Why would he go Triforce when he can just go Black Cleaver? Like,
I don't actually
you get
understand
the same
Wukong
amount of
builds.
cooldown, you get a bit more HP, you still get, like, you get the armor thread. Which
Yeah,
is
I do
good,
think the armor
but-
shred is actually a big part of the composition too, although we do see the Nami tidal wave come in, only gonna knock up 2 to take this dragon.
But my question is, why Triforce? Like, sure, I know it procs on your Q and you can deal damage, but
Ooh, the clone doesn't actually eat it up. Calling does come in. Cassiopeia lands the ultimate onto the Nautilus. He's going to go down onto the second Wukong ultimate. Gripe is looking to take out the Kled here, who does go down before all is said and done. Soundless shove them off of the dragon and take an ocean for themselves, denying that very terrifying, 3 Drake potential where you have to take a fight.
yeah, just really bad coordinated fight from the side of SRG. Like, they should all just run out the same way instead of some staying in the pit and some staying on the side and complete, like Lucian and Syndra was completely cut out from the fight. Like, they were nowhere close.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is just credit to this grip on Wukong, right? Obviously, he's playing the champion in such a way that he does try to split out the enemy members of the team, and he even uses his clone in such a way that he wants them to kind of catch themselves out. I at least admire it, because the Wukong is not a pick that has... he was broken. Now, I don't think he is, and he actually requires a bit of skill. The 8 deaths, though,
That's
we
quite
could have a
awful.
talk about that.
That comes down to the fact that, like, again, he's the only one who's jumping in. That's why I would have loved to see the Black Cleaver into Sterex instead of the Triforce into. I'm hoping he doesn't go Ravenous. Ravenous.
Oh, he's going Ravenous Hydra.
Satanic.
That's 100%.
Yeah,
That's
Hydra,
what that's a Hydra.
Yeah, and that's what I'm afraid of. So
I mean, I would agree that Black Cleaver would have made a lot of sense. Given the composition, I'm not so sure about Wukong builds just because I haven't actually really played this iteration of the champion, so I won't talk on that. But given that this composition is based on Vayne requiring health and Cassiopeia requiring magic resist, Wukong needs the enemy team to require armor to effectively kind of stop their tanks from being able to itemize. So going the Black Cleaver makes the most sense because the only way you're going to catch them out in this itemizing is if everybody plays their role.
yeah, and so like. Now we get to see what he buys. He's recalling. He's sitting on 1700. Please be Sterex.
I told you.
No, he's going Death
done the
Dance.
Hydra. Wait, that's an Aegis, actually. That's not Death Dance. Does Death Dance build out of Aegis Legion now?
Yeah. After the changes, that one is a part of it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you get armor and health now with Death Dance.
Yeah. It does. So they kind of buffed it a bit to make it more, well, just to make it better, really, for Brutus, because this whole health, like the life steal and stuff like that is good. It's really good, but then you have to bleed to counteract it. But now they gave it a bit more tanky stats, so it's more well-rounded item.
That's
It
really
really
interesting,
suits
'cause you'd only
champions like
build that on
Aatrox, like
damages.
Wukong for that matter, like Kled, whatever melee champion who attack a lot with both abilities and basic attacks. It really
No, I
benefits
really like that
them a lot.
Because like I was only playing that primarily on long-range AD champions, actually, like Corki and Graves. I mean, obviously Corki's a magic resist champion, or sorry, a magic champion, but he deals or builds primarily AP or AD. That's the one. So yeah, no, never really built Death Stance on the bruisers. It makes sense though when you give it the armor and magic resist. It's a lot better of an item.
Well, it's kind of been a standard item on Aatrox and Urgot and stuff like that for a while now, and this just makes it better. So it's just a free upgrade on an item. It costs the same. It just takes different components. But
Now,
we're
Alt's
seeing the
kind of
Vayne
quiet.
being able to scale. Like this Vayne is starting to become scary if they don't shut her down. Like the game is dragging on for too long. So they
we're
allow
shutting
Casio and Vayne to freeze items.
This should be a tower going down. I mean, they do have, like I said, ways shoving in the mid, top, and the bot that guarantees almost a tower every time. Although they're kind of afraid to go up for the auto attacks, and I do understand that after having lost team fights, you really don't want to go down to a losing team fight like that.
Yeah, exactly. And the Syndra and is positioning way too forward. Like Syndra is almost like in front of the tanks when they siege. And I would have loved to just see Wukong be like, all right, cool, we go for this one. Syndra is out of position.
Yeah, and I mean, that would require, I mean, I guess it does have, he has that level, I would say, of fortitude, but it's actually more of a recklessness in his case.
And he should have sold that Mage Eyes.
Yeah, by now, definitely.
And if he sold the Mage Eyes, he would have had enough for his Ravidons
Yeah.
and a blasting wand on the side, because he's sitting on 800 right now. So that's what I would have loved him to seen him do instead, because that would have been the smart play.
It definitely would have, and a lot of players just don't think that through, although now this is going to be why Soundless actually makes their play onto the Baron. And because they picked up that last dragon, because they're not at threat of a soul going over, that's why they can make this trade, and it's always worth to take Baron over dragon. This is a classic League of Legends decision. See the dragon is spawning, know the enemy team is going for it, and take the other objective while they can possibly stop it.
And they have Vayne and Cassiopeia, so Baron is gonna be dying real fast.
Yeah, and I think that this was just the obvious move here. And I don't know why SRG kind of missed it, because this is such a classic League of Legends play, in my opinion, right? You kind of split the map for this, and you make sure you get the better of the two objectives. But again, shouts out to them for having secured that dragon in the prior fight, which actually allows them to make this decision. Because in another, arrangement of things, they actually end up having to fight that dragon, and they can't make this play, and Soundless is in a much worse place.
Yeah, if let's say SRG got the other Drake, like, so they were on Drake Point, then it's not a worth trade because Ocean Drake is, in my opinion, the best Drake.
Yeah, and I mean, the Drake conversation is a weird one for me because I feel like that most of the time talking about which one's better or worse is kind of a moot point because you're getting the one you're getting. But in the early game, it actually, I think, has the biggest relevance, right? Talking about, like, is it worth it to pick up this Dragon or the Rift Herald? That makes some sense to me. Although we do see Clegg comes charging in here. Miasma's not going to stop him during that, and the Q lands, but gets stopped immediately by the Banshee's Veil. Nami Tidal Wave is going to hit 3, but fortunately, Ham is stunned to avoid that one. Now he's free-firing onto the Tom Kench, who's going to be able to pick out the Syndra, but Kled and Nautilus are down on the back end, and I just can't imagine that Sejuani and Lucian can make this work. As Soundless clean up the fight. Double kill for the Tom Kench. And with Baron on their hands, yeah, Tom Kench is just ulting at this tower with Cass.
Yeah, this game is over. They wouldn't let the game go too far without closing it out.
Hey, it's looking like a game 3 here, and I mean, we don't even have a positive kill-to-death ratio, unless, you know, you obviously count those assists like League of Legends players like to do. For either of the carries on SRG, or sorry, on Soundless Gaming. They have just cracked open the Nexus with a 1-kill differential in a single, or I think only 2 winning team fights throughout the whole game. Just really good play letting that game stall out for them. And I mean, it's not even that long. We're talking 33 minutes. This might be the right type of composition, though, for a team that can CS as well as I think they can.
Yeah, they should have closed out the game when they had the chance, when Casio and Vayne were so far behind. And they just let them scale. And that was the big issue here. Like, they let them get to the point where Casio and Vayne is just gonna steamroll over every fight. But in that last fight, Nami is the MVP in my mind. Because I don't think you saw it, but the Mikhail's Crucible, it came instantly when Casio was hit. That made sure they won the fight. Otherwise, Casio would have been dead.
Was hit by what?
The Sejuani ult.
Oh, I didn't see that at all, no. Yeah, so Wicktech wins my MVP just for hearing that as well. I really think that he was the driving force for his team in that game. Obviously, the Tom Kench was a major player, but there were just so many mistakes for somebody who plays so well that at the end of the day, I feel like that the Nami kind of against all odds really just showed up. Now, if we do look at the damage numbers, top damage of the game, take a guess who that one goes over, actually.
Yeah, like this one goes over to Soundless on the fact that they managed to play their late game better.
Oh, no. I mean, take a guess on which champion you think
Oh.
got most damage to champions.
Oh, most damage? Oh, Casio did.
Yeah, so you've probably already looked at the stats if you say it with
Yeah.
that type of candor and confidence. All right. Yeah, Cassiopeia, obviously, most damage champions, 24,000. Next highest is 21,000 on the Lucian. And Vayne is actually all the way down at 8,000 damage champions, barely even got involved in fights. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to cut it, there are no shame stats. Everybody touched turrets, objectives, and bought control wards, so no one is going to get at least that type of shame from me.
Yeah, but I want to see this, like, this Iron Chinese guy play something where he has a bigger impact, because he didn't play Tom Kench like Tom Kench. Because I didn't see him save his teammates, I saw him just running at people trying to kill them. So if that's his playstyle, then I want to see him on something else. Something that honestly makes more sense.
No, and I'd agree with you there. I think that the winning strategy here for Soundless, at least the most consistent winning strategy, will be to get the top laner onto something where they can actually do the work that they want to do to put their team in the position to win the game, because winning top lane is almost a guarantee at this point for them. But that said, I mean, with the Tom Kench only playing, great instead of excellent, still they were able to make it work here, given that both their carries just totally underperformed. I mean, Cassiopeia did the best that she could, but I feel like that Vayne at least was a really big missed opportunity.
Oh yeah, like Vayne got shut down early and wasn't really allowed to play the game, but then the game drags out too long and Vayne is sitting on 3 items, so that last team fight hitting the Sejuani was just melting. Because that's the one fight where Vayne got all his all the damage, is that last team fight. Because Vayne wasn't able to free fire because they didn't focus Vayne at all.
And we'll have to see if SRG is able to fix those as we do head into a game 3. It's tied up 1-1 apiece. It's SRG Monoceros going up against Soundless Esports, and we'll be right back with you, bringing you live action game 3 EU West Week 9 SRG.
child in Valoran has heard the tale before about the cursed mummy boy who felt his heart no more. So sad and lorn, the helpless lad, Amumu was his name. He ventured out to find a friend and learn about his bane. For many years, young Amumu traveled through the lands, determined to make friends if only they would understand. But even when Amumu stood upon the ledge of home, his hope would disappoint him and he would remain alone. But then the curse began to whisper in his ear and would confirm what was Amumu's biggest fear. It pledged that never shall someone become his friend. It pledged that he shall be alone until his end. But sorrow and despair became too much to bear. The moment when Amumu realized what he had done, too late it was for him, for them, the evil curse had won. The anger and the anguish overwhelmed his fragile soul and caused a wicked tantrum that he never could control.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, relentless you survive. They never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their bones, they'll rot into smoke when the fire is fierce. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die when the world
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're bringing you Game 3 action. It's Soundless Esports up against SRG Monoceros, and for the first time, at least in my time here at SRG, teams are going to be playing the same sides in another game. At least I believe so, right? Or did they swap? Oh, they swapped. I lied. Forget everything I said. Wukong's off the table, though, so we will get to see Grip play something other than that. And if they double ban him with the Olaf, they're going to be paying massive respect over to a player who isn't the top laner of Soundless.
Yeah, I don't know why they're like. To be fair, like the guy plays solo queue style champions, so the kind who can go solo. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe throw a ban his way would make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it also could make sense to get rid of the weaker people. This is one of those things where if there is a teammate who has a bigger champion pool and can play just about anything, right, and he's the best, instead of targeting him and making his life hard, you make him have to for the slack of other people, and that will break him down much harder
Olaf
than
ban.
trying to pressure him. But no Olaf ban. This should be either a first pick or a steal, in my opinion. But the Sejuani's so good. Do you really want Michael 6'9" off it?
To be honest, I would just pick some sort of flex pick right now, and then once you have
Like
Red
Senna.
Side picking Sejani again. No, don't.
No.
All right, I guess it's Nunu.
Oh.
So they're going to be giving over On and Sejani, it seems. But yeah, then I would have wanted to just pick Trundle for
Yeah, this
Grip
is
and be
devastating.
like, his jungle is over there. Go find him.
And I do agree, Trundle is the proper answer right now to double tanks, and you know they want the Sejuani as well. But Misfortune is the lock-in, probably something they don't want to lose. She is right now, in my opinion, or not my opinion, in the statistical opinion, the best ADC in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's strong in lane, she's strong in mid game, her ultimate is devastating.
It's so rare that you see a champion who actually holds the #1 spot across every single elo you can control for in most major regions. Like, that's like a very, very rare occurrence. It actually should signal that Misfortune deserves...
No, see, that is a better champion for the way he plays.
Darius?
Yeah.
I would agree.
That's
I think Darius
more
is a strong
of a
champion.
champion that fits his playstyle.
Very strong into Ornn as well. The issue, though, obviously, is in the unstoppable in his bellowing breath, which will allow him to get the brittle stacks, obviously speaking of the Ornn there, versus Darius trying to get that pull, which, if Ornn is unstoppable, will not connect, will not land any CC, and will actually end up in turmoil for the Darius. Orianna again, though, for repeat, and I'm not sure. You weren't a fan of this Orianna, right?
No, like his farming abilities were fine. But yeah, like the Syndra is still up. We saw how he played into Syndra last time. Let's see if he can do it better this time.
That's a very good pick there too as well, and I think it's actually going to allow them to shield a lot this time. Unlike in the first draft, where I was really confused by their kind of drafting strategies, they've actually adequately answered each kind of step, and even prioritized the Misfortune while doing that. So this is actually pretty normalized.
Yes, but I don't like this blue side draft. Like you drafted both solo laners in your jungle. First rotation. Like, why?
They've done it twice now.
Yeah, but it makes no sense.
One time it made much less sense. They drafted the top laner first, and then they drafted the mid laner.
Yeah, but this just makes no sense. Like, first picking Nunu is just, like, why? Like, you have stuff like Rakas, Sejani, Ornn, Syndra for that matter. Like, you have so many good first picks, and then they decide to go Nunu.
Right.
I agree that Nunu's very off. But we do see Tarek and Caitlyn taken away. And I mean, this draft is in question for me, at least, because I think the Olaf was something I was just so excited for that personally.
Well, this is where they show a curveball, and this is Nunu support, and they pick Olaf next.
That would make me so happy, and you just gave me hope. So I'm gonna be really angry with you in about like 4 minutes, because that's not gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna take them about 4 minutes. They take this very slow now. Felio's
No, they're gonna be picking their Arden support and Hyper carry again in bot lane.
Sejuani also finally gone, so actually both junglers are gonna have to play anything different. And
Oh, they
Aatrox,
flex pick Ornn.
yeah, they're gonna flex pick Ornn into the bot lane. This was the plan all
No,
along.
jungle,
The bot
jungle,
lane had been
jungle,
selected.
jungle.
You think it's? I'm a huge fan of jungle.
No,
Ornn.
don't pick Zac, please.
I've played about 50 games of jungle Ornn at this point. It's incredible. You clear so fast. I think Zac is another mistake champion as well, but into Darius, at least we know when he played it into the I believe what was it, the Kled? He was
Yeah.
able to escape the whole time.
No, Tryndamere in the first game.
Yeah, no, it was the Tryndamere in the first game. Sorry, yeah. He was able to play the Zac well enough that he could escape the whole game, and even
There's
in
the hyper carry.
huge fan of Sivir. When I say I played 50 games of Orange Jungle, I've played at least 100 games of Sivir this ranked season across multiple accounts. She's just really strong. And when I say really strong, I mean like she's probably like a 7 or top 6 ADC right now. But into this composition, she's actually not that great. The movement speed will help out Nunu and Darius, but there's
And
not
there's
a
the
whole
art
lot of
support.
raw pick potential.
Like, sure, all around they have a decent comp, and then they have Nunu.
The Nunu is definitely a little off-putting. I mean, it's about the only real synergy along with the Darius with the Sivir, but even then, I mean, Nunu goes fast enough. He doesn't really need the Sivir both.
Yeah, but like,
We are going to see this draft get
why pick Nunu? You know, when Sajani's open, Gragas, Ornn, like, stack with them there. Like,
Yeah,
and
so it is
the
Orange
MF
Jungle and
Nautilus
then
bot lane
Nautilus.
is a good lane as well.
Obviously, Leona has a higher win rate with the Misfortune, but Nautilus is right behind her, and Nautilus does something that Leona can't, and that's actually called peel. Obviously, Leona can peel, but I should say most won't.
Like, right now, the better comp goes to Monoceros once again. Because they have a easier comp to execute. It's basically a good old-fashioned brawler teamfight comp.
Oh,
So,
it's actually Zac Jungle and Ornn in the top.
yeah. So, like,
Man.
it makes a lot more sense.
I really want Orange Jungle. Huge fan of the Orange Jungle. Fortunately, we won't be seeing the only jungler who clears fastest as Karthus. Zac is fun. I have tasks where he has to, obviously get wards, or else his ganks are going to be not just potent but deadly. And into somebody like Misfortune Nautilus, if Zac is able to get there once they get to level 6 around the 8-9 minute mark, that's going to be pretty much the end for Sivir Nami. They have almost no answer to it, and the Sivir Spell Shield is only going to be able to answer one thing.
Yeah, I saw some, I can't remember, I think it was Korean, where they ulted as Nautilus, and then right around when it was about to hit, they queued as Nautilus as well, because you can't spell shield both. So
Yep,
you get hit by one no matter what.
No, it's a really tough lane. You actually would prefer to have a melee support into Nautilus. But again, I mean, as someone who's played a whole lot of Sivir, sometimes what will happen is people will think your spell shield is enough. So they end up actually not playing between you and Nautilus like you would for a traditional ADC and just kind of like leaving you open. And in that case, Nautilus is just as deadly. But I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
The Nami will be interesting because at least it can answer the Q after Sivir spell shields it really reliably. Because he's going to get stuck in place, right?
Yeah, like the Sivir is gonna have to be dodge master this game, because a lot of stuff is gonna be thrown at her.
Yep, and the obvious synergy here between the Nautilus and the Misfortune is that Nautilus wants them to walk outside of the minion wave to land a hook, while Misfortune wants them to be standing in their minion wave to land poke. So essentially, they don't have a correct decision except for to outplay one or both of them at multiple times. And that's what makes the bot lane so strong here. Now, moving on our way up, we have talked about the Orianna and the Syndra at length, but the general synopsis of this lane is going to be that Syndra scales harder than Orianna, but Orianna can always find herself being more useful at the shockwaves and can actually shove faster and more efficiently than Syndra. But this won't be as easy as last time into the Zed. And then I actually not so aware as to how the Darius Ornn matchup goes outside of the Bellowing Breath and E interaction.
It's not a good lane for Ornn unless you play it correctly, because if you play correctly, yes, you can dodge around the Q heal from Darius, and yes, there is still the fact that Ornn deals a shit ton of damage. So yeah, Ornn can win the lane, but the way top lane has been going, it is going in the favor of the Soundless top laner. So I'm expecting this Darius to be taking prio in this lane, for sure.
I did forget that analysis from the very beginning of the game. It's pretty much a given that N Chinese is going to win this lane regardless for Soundless. And on the Darius, winning the lane will mean a lot more than winning it on the Tom Kench. Still, I think that there are better hyper carries for him to have gone because Darius isn't an exact hyper carry. But Darius brings something to the team that they did not have before him. And that's a real answer to getting jumped on by the Zac or by the Nautilus. This is kind of that traditional thing that happened when the first Juggernaut update came out, where this utility in a team fight was never to kind of start the team fight or to really, be an efficient member of damage in it. but to kind of end it and to be a member that said, please don't jump on my team because I will get 5 stacks on you and I will transfer it to everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, it's a devastating play. And I'm not sure if this is a Darius we'll see. I imagine we won't because of how he plays. But that kind of Darius who stands on top of his team and waits to get the 5 stacks on a member who's diving on someone other than Darius scares me. Honestly, I still
Well,
have
he
nightmares
is
of it
going
happening.
Flash Ghost, so he
He's
is playing
strong.
solo queue again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not trolling. Obviously, you take the Ghost because the movement speed is so important to Darius to land the stacks. And if you're down in movement speed naturally to your opponent, or your opponent is going to take inspiration like Ornn and go magical boots, you really want to have an answer.
And to be fair, like this Flash Ghost is a normal thing on Darius because it's what he needs. Like he needs the mobility because he doesn't really have a gap closer and stuff like that. So if he's gonna keep up with people, then yeah, he needs Ghost as well. But like I said, from like about the first game, this is a team game. Because
It's actually force repeat to take teleport again.
yeah. So
Same, cutting down, buddy.
yeah.
And everybody loads onto the Rift. Love to see the FPX logo every time. Just a reminder, they did win Worlds. So it's looking like a 5-man invade coming out from SRG this game, and I'll be interested to see if they can pull it off. Last time, the Nautilus obviously walked into the Tribush the same way. This time, it looks like the Nami is going to actually stay with the Sivir, and this might be what spells destruction. The pings even come out. They might have a feeling this is coming. It's a full invade on the red side as well, something that hasn't been mentioned yet.
No, they're kind of just splitting the invade and keeping the bot lane kind of safe on that side. But if SRG is playing this smart, they just go and wait because the Nami Cive is gonna be walking up to them any minute.
Oh no, the ward. The bubble's gonna land onto all 3 though. I think that spells the end of flash forward for Nautilus is gonna catch out the Sivir, who uses the spell shield to stop the stun from the Nautilus auto attack. And she's not gonna use flash, but Nami does. I'm not sure if the support flash for flash is worth it, but it's what happens, and it's the state of the game right now, so it's how both teams are gonna have to play forward. Really nice though. It looks like that the Nunu might be able to pick up this buff, and that's if they let the Ornn pass. You just have to be patient. Oh, he does get the ward though. It's smart here. You actually just take this buff. That's the right play, right?
Oh yeah, they have the pressure to do it. So yeah, obviously they should just do it.
And with Nunu, I mean, the pressure is not just large, but it's immense. Because he's always going to beat you to that secure. But there's no world in which you beat the Nunu.
Well, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, there are worlds where it happens. I've seen that happen once or twice, but it's normally just a really bad feeling. Here comes Nunu, though, with the immediate snowball and the red buff. Going to be landing big damage down onto Syndra and gets the flash. That's going to be back up at 7 minutes as Repeat feels the immediate pressure from Michael69. But the red buff from Nunu is so much more powerful than the blue buff on anybody, let alone Zac, who doesn't actually benefit from the mana regen. So Nunu just absolutely slapping him there.
Yeah, like, it was a good gank. Zac shouldn't just not be there at all. He should just be like, alright, I know I lost my red. I just gotta reach my level 4 point at least before you gank, because the jump range on your E level 1 is not that far.
No, it is not. It really is his abilities that need to be leveled up. I mean, that's why Zac gets the max E, because without it, you don't get the range. And that's not the case for everybody. Obviously, you know, there's some champions where they don't really need that range. In the mid lane, though, the CS is actually even, but it's even on the side of Orianna. Repeat obviously has more CS in the wave there if you just take a quick look. And that means that the CS lead is minorly in his favor. But that's actually going to be a lane that requires a bit more pressure before we see leads.
Yeah, but I don't like the fact that he's running Dematerializer because it's not needed.
Very good double stun though from Nunu, and the bubble comes in, but that's going to force a flash out from Misfortune, and obviously no flash on Nautilus means he goes down. We feel a little bit of punishment there from the level 1 flashes from the supports.
Yeah, that was a really good game by Nunu though.
Yeah, very good double stun. Here comes Zac, though, gonna be able to land the slingshot. And Oriana does have the flash, but may not have the health. Actually, she did flash. She just didn't flash away properly. I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't actually see it go off.
I think she flashed at the minute she was
place?
getting hit by basic attack. So.
Oh, so then she got snapped back. That actually makes sense. Really unfortunate there for Repeat, who at least does have the teleport to get back to lane. Obviously, Censorus does have the teleport as well, and will match at a better time than this, presumably when a lost chapter is affordable.
To be fair, if you just waste your TP to TP back to lane, then you're doing something wrong.
No, you should always use your first TP to get back to lane.
Oh yeah, but it might not be needed if you do the cheater recall, you know?
I don't know
The
what
good
the
old
cheater
LS
recall is.
always says cheater recalls is so good early on.
But I'd still say that like using teleport to get back to lane with an item spike is valuable.
Oh yeah, it can be valuable obviously, but you kind of want to save your TP for something that's good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, you want to save it
I would
first.
agree more the later the game goes. I still like, I don't know. Personally, I can't find a way where like I wouldn't use the TP actually to get back to lane for the first one, unless I'm in a really good setting.
Depends what the wave state is, you know.
Yeah, obviously. But I don't know. I'd have to see more. I am interested in finding out what this cheater recall is, though. I haven't heard of it.
Really? You've never seen LS talk about it?
Nope.
Or anybody references?
Nope. I don't really stand him, though. I just watch some of the stuff, and sometimes I find it relatable, and other times I find it dreadful. But I love how dreadful it is.
Well,
Still, though, back to
basically
this.
every caster in
sorry.
LEC and LCS basically all talk about the cheater recall.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I do mute the casters at this point most of the time.
Huh.
Yep. Not a
That might be
huge
why.
fan of the majority. I like Froscarin a lot now, though.
Yeah, I know she talked about it as well. But yeah. Right now the game is kind of going slow, nice and easy. Oh, Tubman's gonna
Well,
die.
top lane it is not nice and easy. There is a ultimate on Darius, a speed boost from the Ghost, and he's gonna actually flash away there to secure the kill. I think pings even came down. I heard them. I didn't see them, obviously, because we don't see the pings. I think he was probably pinging the flash in frustration. Nautilus goes forward with the Q, Sivir plays it perfectly, and that's why it'd be considered a counter matchup until level 6, where the Sivir always answers to Nautilus in a better fashion.
Yeah. Not really a worth flash for flash. It was not really well coordinated.
Question mark pings all over the map and from both sides. I think that really just means that they kind of know where the Zac is, and Oriana's going to play passively here. But they also
Yeah.
probably know the Nunu's hovering on the bot side.
I'm kind of scared that the same thing that happened last game is gonna happen again.
Which would be?
The fact that they don't end up closing out the game, so the fact that Soundless can just sit back and scale because of the fact that SRG don't know how to close out the game.
Yeah, and I mean, Sivir, honestly, even in items right now, but so far behind in CS that if we click,
Oh yeah,
obviously, and we look
like
over,
that's the same as last
only
game.
down 100 gold, but that's still. How is that happening? I'm very confused. Is the kill worth that much?
It was first blood, I think.
Wow. I mean, behind, but not nearly as much as I'd expect. Only like 200 gold right now.
Yeah, so like, and right now Sivir has infinite wave clear. In fact, that she has BF, so she's gonna be clearing the wave with W and Q.
Actually, doesn't even land the second part of that W there. This is very passive. Sivir play. Makes sense though with the Nami obviously waiting for the level 6. Although I don't think it gets better at level 6 because Misfortune Nautilus just gets so much better. Although we do see the Spell Shield juice there to stop the auto attack from Nautilus, not the Q. Means the damage gets taken, but the life gets saved. Second Q lands, but the ultimate goes down onto Wick. They are not getting nothing for that teleport and ignite. And flash. Wow. Here's the pull though in the top lane as Darius is going to get 1, 2, 3 stacks onto the Ornn. As the turret's actually landing shots onto Ham. Ham's going to be forced to back up there now, only at 400 HP on the ADC. Nunu channels the snowball and goes down to sub-half health himself. And I think everybody's going to want to back out of this one now, as the health bars and the mana is just too low for anyone to mount any real type of fight.
Yeah, they got what they wanted. They got the kill. But yeah, that's basically it. Still up in CS in mid lane though. I don't know how that happened, but the Syndra is getting quite strong.
Yeah, and the Syndra getting strong is honestly a really big win condition for this team, because she makes the mid game so much easier. But also, so does this Misfortune, who's really going to need to find more than just the CS foothold that she has right now, especially with the level 6 here. Dragon going over as well, he just needs to find a way to use that ultimate in what I would call a productive way.
True.
Probably won't be seen, right? So now, tell me, what do the wards speak to you if you try to read them? Like bones scattered across a...
Well, that nobody's going topside.
I was actually looking for just about that. Yeah, they've actually ignored this and turned it into a true island. There's a control ward, presumably from each of the top laners, right?
Well, this is just standard solo queue. Top lane be like, we are on an island. We don't need wards.
But we need ward.
Oh yeah, they have one each. Which
Yeah,
is perfect. They have each their own little space and be like, alright, I ward here, you ward here. Cool, now we brawl it out of here all by ourselves.
Well, I think what it really says is that Ornn is like, please don't tank me under tower, and that Darius is like, only for priority lane and the river control.
Yeah.
Which is genuinely what he gets here, right? It's the reason that Ornn doesn't have multiple deaths, it's the reason he's down 30 some odd CS, and the reason that there hasn't been a gank as well. But the pressure and priority is going to end up giving over this Rift Herald, which I think is, again, the really big objective in the early game. And getting the Drake with it is only just sweeter.
Well, yeah, to be fair, like, that's been a good...
oh, wow, they're going to go for Witchback again, though. That's the ultimate out of Nautilus going in, and the turret's going to hit him down. Actually, that Silverado's going to do it. The Ignite from Nami means that Nami ends up securing the kill on Nautilus, but still feels good to get a 1-for-1 there.
Oh, yeah. It's not a bad thing.
Oh, Sivir does miss the Q, and that's going to be a problem. Here comes Nunu with the biggest snowball ever, and it's the biggest whiff ever, as he has to flash forward now, just to make sure that Repeat doesn't flame him that. There's a flash, though, from Sivir. Make sure the slingshot doesn't land, but Let's Bounce is going to secure the kill, and even if Zac stands in return and takes another 2 shots, he still has the passive to shrug off the kill. It's 4 apiece.
Yeah, I just realized now that MF is running Exhaust in bot lane.
That doesn't just make me sad, that makes me
No. Like, it's a good thing. I've seen a lot of people start to do it when you have these aggressive AD carries like MF. Because it gives you so bigger fighting potentials in a stay buffed Exhaust.
I don't know, I would still say you want that heal or you want teleport.
Yeah, but later on in the game, what's more valuable, heal or Exhaust?
Barrier.
Exhaust, exactly.
Trump. Barrier's the answer to that one. I feel like you can go barrier too and have the support take heal. I don't know, I feel like heal is just so good for the bot lane, especially in the early levels. I guess in this case though, it wouldn't have mattered, right? The heal at least, it wouldn't have helped him. The exhaust is more valuable.
I like the Exhaust. It
Here
also,
comes
later on when it comes to team fights, if the Darius ever runs at you, well, now the AD carry has some sort of self-heal by just exhausting. Then you exhaust Darius and you can basically burn him down.
That is very fair. That's how you can actually end up kiting out that kind of a monster.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the guy is getting bigger and bigger in top lane.
Now, it gets a little quiet, but that's just because the objectives are not up on the map for the teams to take. Only 3 platings are down as we look towards the, 14-minute mark, sorry, where they fall off. And that's actually looking like it's going to be in the bot lane. At least, that is for the side of SRG. Soundless has already taken out the 1 plating in the top, and the entirety of the mid-turret of Herald. Oh yeah, that's a knock wave. I didn't see that in the bot lane as the Ignite is actually down on to Repeat. But no one dies. It's just an exchange of ultimates, a heal, a flash, a teleport. And another flash ignite.
Oh, they're staying on the turret.
Oh,
Why?
yeah, that's going to be the death for Repeat, who just should not be standing up above that turret. And the Sivir ultimate cannot outrun point-and-click death from Syndra, who grabs onto a ball, presumably to hit a Scatter the Weak stun on Nami at the back end of this fight, but actually just chooses to get the double kill onto the Nunu. Here comes Darius, the 1-2-3. Looking for 4, looking for 5 stacks as he smacks her down on the head, and now he's going to be applying that debuff to everybody in the area. He's on to a double kill with the shutdowns. Nautilus is going to die here too. It's a triple. He's looking for Zach. He smells blood in the water. He's not actually looking. I really wanted him to go for the quad. What can I say?
Yeah, that's the power of Darius, but they should have known he was on the way. Like, they should have known that Darius was not in top lane anymore. That means you don't greed for the kills. Like, you got what you wanted, you got the kills under the turret, then it's just back out. Then they could have gotten the turret, like they had the minions. So there's no point in greeding for more kills.
I agree. There was very little point in greeting out there and playing any more forward, and Darius does capitalize on it. That's also a kind of problem where Ornn needs to be question mark pinging and exclamation mark pinging, making sure his team doesn't really play up there. Though it looks like Darius is going to be landing some more auto attacks, does forego the Zac damage for the MF damage. I'm not sure that I quite agree with this.
And there comes the exhaust.
Yeah, the exhaust definitely ended up helping her actually with the damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Not sure heal wouldn't have also got her away from walking backwards.
Oh, he's doing the Black Cleaver Triforce build on Darius. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure how much I like Black Cleaver actually over the wait, Triforce? He's going both?
Yeah, he's going both because you get the effect from Black Cleaver and you get the extra stats, and plus you get max CDR. I see this a lot on Irelia and Jax and stuff like that as well.
But you get the twice in Phage.
You get the better passive. That means you get the Black Cleaver passive.
Yeah, but you still end with 1 X'd out on you, so you don't get it.
No, like it's good. It's a legit build.
Something I haven't seen, but I know traditionally you just don't go because the Phage passive is on both.
No,
Although
like
that's
you don't get both passives. Like you get the best.
No, I
of
know
the
you
two.
don't. That's why I'm saying you traditionally wouldn't build it.
Well, it's a good build. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I believe you. It looks like he's going to be going it, and he is their best member.
It's a strong build on pretty much any bruiser at the moment. Besides the one that's like Irelia and stuff like that, who's going over to the blade first item always.
I think he's just ahead enough that he's going to beat down whoever's in his way, regardless of what he does end up building. Machine definitely helps though with the damage.
Like, he's
Looking
far
at the
ahead.
top side though, Ornn also just getting beaten down. He's far enough behind that he does even have to flash away from that shockwave. His Orianna on a repeat on the Orianna, just doing massive amounts of damage. Oh, the slow lands, the pull connects, and that's a shutdown without an ultimate, as Darius is just able to make it work at this point. Here comes Misfortune though, looking to make a play onto the Sivir, does pop the ultimate, unfortunately doesn't get the kill. And that's not for a lack of trying. The Sivir actually hasn't built anything to deal with the Misfortune damage properly.
No, this MF is really, really strong. Like, they need to play around the MF. They need to move this MF into mid lane, so she has easier way of getting everywhere.
Here we go though, as the Orianna ball does go on to Zac now, but Ornn has the ultimate. First Ornn I've seen really make an impact on the game. It's actually going to lead to Repeat's death because he has no mana to deal with it. Question is, will they get Micro 6-9 in the back end? Answer is yes. Nunu ult's going to deal big damage. You can't turn back into that, and that's half the health now as he's eating Ornn because all he wants is damage. Sees Nautilus though, and that's going to signal the end of the fight.
Yeah, battle of the tanks. Gotta love it.
Yeah, and the tanks are been dealing a lot of damage in these games, regardless of what happens. And they seem to even be able to solo out the carries when they're given the chance to, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, like, never mistake a tank for not dealing damage, because they do deal damage. And they also, like, they don't deal as much damage as bruises, obviously, but they also have the tankiness to support it. Well, I still don't like the fact that like Soundless should have just put the Severe in mid and just wave clear duty. Instead, they decided to put a bot. Don't know why.
Yeah, the mid lane's definitely better for the silver wave clear than the bot lane solo, but sometimes, you know, if you feel bad enough about your performance, you just throw yourself into the bot lane and cry while you have the lowest CS on your team and the enemy team. At least for
That's true. When you get outfarmed by your jungler, then you've not had a good game.
No, you got to get really sad and think about life a little bit, and then you wonder why you play. And then you're like, I don't just play, I play on a competitive level. I give so much time to this game and I'm not even good. Like, and the next thing you know, you're pushing bot wave into the 20th minute of the game.
Yeah, start complaining about mid lane being broken.
Exactly. Then you start thinking about AP item. Oh, it's a flash forward though, and there's no complaining as a double shockwave lands, and that's gonna spell disaster for SRG. Soundless firmly puts themselves in the lead of this game and of this very moment. And this is kind of a split decision here. They can obviously go for the Baron in 15 seconds, but I think the much more secure option is to start stacking these dragons. Here's Darius though, and that's actually going to spell disaster right now for SRG as the flash is forced out of misfortune, and so is the exhaust. Very little heal, obviously for the standstill ADC who has no dashes, and landscape where champions tend to all have dashes.
Yeah, SRG is just playing a bit too aggressive right now because they try to tower dive when it's not needed. Because they're trying to overforce things. Like, there's no need for them to try and dive mid into it at this point.
No, I'd agree that that dive is very misplaced, and it ends up costing them. They don't get the mid turret, they lose a whole lot of lives, and 3k gold lead going over Soundless. I mean, it's all just that adds on top of each other, but I think the real story here is just 6-1 Darius, who now just doesn't have an answer. And he's obviously built these two items that you say are going to help him carry. I think the Sheen is doing it, and the damage is landing, but here he goes. He does get stunned out. He can't really play frontliner there. That's why we draft tanks like Nunu. Nunu, though, charging up a big ultimate, does get killed trying it, and that means it's all onto the Severe now to try to deal the damage.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're the guy on your team who's furthest ahead, which is Darius right now. He's playing aggressive. He's playing far up without summoners because he wasted his summoners trying to get the MF.
Yeah, and I mean, repeat's not there either, so you're fighting in a 4v5 landscape with your carry playing frontliner because your jungler is kind of relegated to playing on the dragon. I think that the real mistake there is that, well, the dragon's spawning and you think that that's the objective you can get, you got there late. So what you're supposed to do now is actually play for picks and wait until you can get a number advantage, because then you stand the best chance to win the fight. If you're choosing to fight in an even or an uneven setting, I think you're just kind of asking for this.
Yeah, exactly. And right now the Darius he is tanky, yeah, sure, but he can still be one-shot. Like, there's heat reduction on the MF as well, so his Q is not going to be healing that much. So he has the damage, but he doesn't yet have the survivability to be able to withstand the assault that is coming from Syndra and MF, because he has no armor yet. Sure, he's in with cloth armor, but that MF is gonna hurt.
Well, the cloth armor, I'm actually not sure what it'll be built into. Probably a random zone.
No, he's going into Dead Man's Blade.
You think so? Yeah, it would make sense.
Oh yeah, no, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, it actually makes the most sense.
It's a stupid item.
Yeah, it's a staple on Darius, right? Because it allows him to get his pull.
Yeah.
It's also a stay in Nunu because it allows him to land his snowball. It's allowing him to run away full speed from the enemy team here right now. Goes down super low though and charges up the ultimate to say, please back off me. The MF ultimate though means that even though she backed off, it's pure annihilation for Soundless in the 5v5 landscape. Overshot slingshot by the Zac, but it doesn't matter when Orange landing the big damage, although with your tanks frontlining in that low, they're bound to go down as Sivir does take the passive out on Zac. Maybe they're going to settle for that.
And that was a 5v4 fight they lost. Because they were too greedy and fighting in a close corridor against Nautilus, Zac, Ornn, and MF. And they just got blasted down by the ultimate.
No, it was a very unfortunate fight to witness if you are an SRG fan. Sorry, if you are a Soundless Gaming fan. However, if you are an SRG fan, the fight couldn't have gone any better. You got the great ultimate we've been waiting to see out of Ham that really, just shred everybody and made his team do absolutely nothing for the next couple of seconds, which feels great. And does have to channel recall twice. And then we just saw, like you said, the Zac and the Ornn able to abuse this point, along with, don't forget, the Syndra and the Nautilus. Yeah, it's just a rough time. This team needs to not take those fights. They need to fight in lanes.
Like Nuno is kind of losing the impact because who's Nuno gonna run into? Ornn? Nautilus? Like, Syndra is just gonna knock the Nuno away, and that's basically it. What's Nuno gonna do? The answer is nothing because Nuno can't do anything.
Also can't really peel here, which is why we've seen so many defensive ultimates out of the big man.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Nuno right now in the early game didn't do enough. Like, they could have dove top lane over and over again. The second Darius got ahead, and just play the side lane Darius and win from doing that, and then just having.
Ooh, there we go though. It's gonna be a big ultimate coming out from the Nautilus, which ends up securing the kill onto the other support, and they force the Ghost out of the Darius. He keeps his flash, loses the the inner mid turret. Here comes Nuno though with a snowball, looking to make an impact. Does hit the Nautilus, does just carry his life almost by making him stay in there, and Grip runs away at full speed, almost like he didn't do it. Darius from 6-1 to 4. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. As MF has just knocked down the carries on the other end. Nuno is going to be able to pick up one more kill, but it's just pure pain for the side of Soundless right now, as SRG looks to take the mid turret and the inhibitor here. I don't think.
See, now if the MF didn't create that hard, they could have ended the game right now. Because but now they can't end the game anymore.
Just because the death timers are long and you killed them in the base, which is the worst spot to die. However, they will end up getting the consolation prize, which is a pretty crappy dragon.
Right now, MF is sitting on 4 complete items, and Civet just hit 2 items.
Yeah, and one of those items is Masterwork, which gives about an extra 1,500 gold worth.
Yeah, exactly. I still don't like the Ludens into Morello when you already have heal reduction on your AD carry. There's no point, just go straight on damage. Don't go Leandrice, you need Rabadons. You need an upgradable. Alright, no mind, he got the Ludens upgrade. And now Syndra is going back, split pushing. And I don't know why. They win the game if they just group at 5.
Win every 5v fight. Or 5v5 not happening in a wide open spot. Michael 6'9" though does look like he might get poked down here. Taking out the jungler, taking out Dragon threat right now. I'm not sure it stops or it opens up their threat, but it definitely stops the threat coming from SRG, and Sound would love to do that.
Yeah, but the Syndra needs to push that wave and then join the team. Like, you cannot be out there all by yourself. Sure, right now it's working out because nobody's answering, so never mind. He should just stay up there. Oh, MF is on the wrong side.
It's a flash forward and goes. That's what the Darius has been saving it for. It's for another misfortune queue. Nearly every time she has died, it has been Summoner Hell just from Darius. And it makes me wonder why she's still sitting alone.
Yeah, like, MF just caught on the wrong side of things.
Yep, and look at the Orianna damage. I mean, Repeat has been able to lay it down. He hasn't been able to find the real kill threat with that. He tends to just deal the damage, and the other team kind of, accounts for it and backs off. That said, Soundless is going to be cracking down another turret. And it's going to gold lead a little bit more manageable, 1,000, but it's been back and forth in all series, honestly. I don't think either team has ever really held the lead in the game for more than 7 minutes.
This is a complete roll. This is all over the place.
Yeah, each team does just tend to slug back, and you get the fight you get. Sometimes there's Ryan and Rin, and then other times it's just... And you're never really sure which one's going to work out either, because sometimes Ryan and Reason just happen to lose.
Yeah.
3 guys chilling in a bush. I'm interested, though. I'm interested to see how this one plays out, because I don't think there's a clear-cut winner yet. I mean, if we look at the state of the map, the only true advantage to speak of is SRG does have the standing inner and they have the inhibitor down, which means they technically have more control over the map, which is also why they have more gold, right? Kills be damned, it's really that which is giving them it. But everything else is just as even as it can come. I mean, the CS, the deficits are matched for lane.
Like, they're not focused on farming at all. They're focused on brawling. They brawl
every time Zach goes in, he gets knocked around, and I mean, that's actually going to force out the ultimate there. Definitely not what you want to see out of him.
Well, he has warm-ups,
Nautilus
so
gets
he should be
soloed
fine.
out, does throw out the ultimate onto repeat. That's going to force the Zach board, gets the Q onto both the carries, and that's going to be the misfortune ultimate coming. But they're just on the tip of it, means they avoid it. Only Nami goes down here. Simmer's going to take out the Nautilus. That's another kill going down at 3 dead. And now it means that the side of SRG gets to shove up onto the carries who have no more protection. They played the front to back properly, and that means Syndra and MF are alive. The Ornn is well with it right now. I think this could spell the end. This might be defeat.
They could end the game.
There's no wave though.
No,
And that's
yeah.
why the pings come out. They can't do it without a wave. That's why I get so excited when I see big waves now. I'll be honest with you, they can do this Baron and the pings do come down for it. The reason they can do is because this wave is going to be pressuring the Nexus hard. And at least one member with the death timers are on the in the dare. You got this. Well, sometimes you speak too soon and you're just wrong. Things do come down from sets. They're not stupid. They know the Baron's happening. The question is strong. Can they stop it?
I mean, they could potentially, because no
Syndra,
jungle is there.
obviously,
Nunes
priority target.
is running fast.
There's the tidal wave. Tidal wave is going to disengage. They don't have a... Red does pick up the Baron. The question is how many people leave with the Baron. Stun lands on
just dies
Purple
for
will
MF.
definitely go down. MF gets hit by the shockwave. Oh, no, Ham, you should have just flashed out of the pit. And the only casualty is the only member, in my opinion, on SRG who can do the damage that matters. Obviously, the Syndra's here and present. Obviously, the Ornn, Zach, and Nautilus are doing a great job as a tank trio. But what do you do without Ham on MF? Where's the damage? The deeps is just not there.
No, Ornn should have just walked up in Oriana's face and made sure the MF was allowed to recall.
Look at Soundless just punishing him. Even Sivir walks out of the range of the Zac Q. And you can almost feel the just terror from SRG as the Ornhorn is the only thing to stop the pain. Sivir far too ahead, and that's what's going to disengage this fight. It's an ADC for an ADC, and that means now for 35 seconds, it's going to be SRG having the ADC advantage on the map. And that has been running out of base.
This is just a standard. Let's pretend we know what we're doing and just keep fighting.
Well, the dragon is up in 30 seconds, so Sivir's going to be there. There is no real advantage to having this kill on the Sivir, who is far out of position there, being that pushed up.
Oriana is nowhere near the fight. She's overtaking blue because
Ooh.
mid laners need blue.
Zac is going to be able to knock him away, and that's because the Oriana's at blue. We've seen this once this game. No, they are just going to clear out the wards, and I mean, the dragon is the next objective. I guess what they have won because of the death on Sivir is the dragon pressure, the dragon vision, right?
Yeah, like they get the prio on the Drake, and they should be able to pick this one up quite easily.
And obviously red team slays the Drake there as the announcer kind of screams over the microphone, which means now they're on Soul Point. And Soul Point is the worst place to be. Soundless does not want to be on it. It means things like that cheeky Baron play that arguably wins them game 2 is not possible.
Yes, but this shows us what they're made of, because this shows if they're if they know how to play the game, because now we're reached the point of, all right, now the macro and the right decision making comes into the game. Like that's gonna be the deciding factor as of right now. Who has the better shot?
This is like the easiest decision to make, though. It's just you gotta brawl over this dragon when it comes up. It's gonna come up at the same time, or a little bit after the Baron.
They're not gonna wait. You know that.
That is true. They are not gonna wait for picks, and waiting for picks would be something that I think both teams could really benefit from. Unfortunately, they both have coaches, and neither of them are looking to hire. So I think that.
Well, imagine if this Syndra just decided to not buy Morello and Leandres and bought a Rabadons. You know, that would have been so much better.
I'm a huge fan of the Rabadon's Rush myself, but I do understand wanting to burn down the front line for your team and kind of allow Misfortune the opportunity to, splurge a little bit with her build.
Yes, but Leandra is so bad on Syndra because you can't really exploit the passive that much on Syndra. You know, like, you're not damaging that much that you make sense of the Leandra's passive.
I feel like that the Leandre's passive is just kind of broken in general and ends up dealing.
Oh yeah,
a whole
it is
lot of
right now,
damage.
but you can't really exploit it because you're not.
Maybe
dealing
not the madness
that
part,
much.
but the torment part, 100%. The torment part is actually the part that I think deals a whole lot of damage because of the combo with the stun. She's actually burned down full health targets with that, and it's to help deal with the tank kind of problems, right? Because there's no real tank killer on their team. I think that's what she's thinking here, going this with the Morello as well.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't like if you go Leandra, you don't go Morello. It's one or the other. And right now they're just running around like without knowing, like, yeah. I don't know. They think, all right, cool, we push in top lane, but then you just group as 5 and do it. Like, we've reached the point of group as 5 is the way to go. But I do like the fact that we are going to be seeing a locket out of the sack, which I really like. It's one of the upgraded items that's, in my book, is underrated.
I mean, Zach obviously staying in this game and staying a threat throughout it, but I think most impressive so far is that the Ord actually only has 1 death. Someone who's been kind of plagued by problems in this lane, and I mean, Darius obviously, again, the 6-1-0 score, or was it 6-1-0 scoreline? Yeah, right? Just comes to mind every time you look at him. I mean, effectively 1-4-1 as the mid to late game starts.
But yeah, the Ornn has been doing really well, in the sense that he only died once in lane to this aggressive Darius, which is really well played by that guy, for sure.
Especially given just how bad the rest of the series has been for him.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean,
He's not
obviously
having a fun
Darius
time.
popped off. Obviously, he did make the mistake of not telling you.
Oh, now we got a fight.
Yeah, the Nami wave is very big here. As the Zac snapback is going to be to try to make the disengage onto Nunu, but Syndra's already dead to teleport his channel. Grub's going to back out. That's Ornn coming in with the Ornn Horn. He's looking to try and disengage this fight as Nautilus goes down. He's going to get 2. That's 1 brittle stack landed onto the ref, but he's all alone right now and only gets the 1 brittle stack onto repeat. And even the stun's not going to do it. I'm sorry I spoke too soon. It looks like Zac was in his passive state, but he was really just waiting to die as pings go down onto the Baron. But I agree, that's the wrong play. Whoever's pinging that inhibitor turret is on the right. And I assume it's Darius. He's the only one with his wits about him right now. You do not want this Baron right now because you genuinely want to try to end the game. And the best way to end is to try to crack open inhibitors, right? So when you think this through, you say, what do we want Baron for? Well, we want Baron to make it easier to crack open inhibitors. So if you can just crack open inhibitors, why would you do that? And this recall is not just wrong, but it's trolling. I'm speechless. That is disgusting.
Well,
that is the grossest display
they are
of a
just
recall after a Baron I've seen.
They are just be like, all right, we have a Drake coming up. That's what we want to go for.
Now that's disgusting. You shove top lane, you walk to the Drake. If you like have to recall 2 of you do, you help Darius get this. I'm speechless. I'm sorry. There's like a whole lot of excuses you can make for them in this game, but that one play is just it's probably a issue of blind disobedience, where the teams have been taught to back after every Baron, so they've decided to back. But that's so sad. You have to do something with that. You want shoving waves. There's still 10 seconds left on all the death timers. I'm sorry, my guy. You have a 3.5 second recall with the Baron. And they obviously still get the Drake here, but that's just so sad. They could have honestly won the game if they had decided to pressure that as hard as they could. That was a huge advantage.
I agree. And on the side of SRG, like, the reason why they lost that fight earlier is the fact that they didn't use their wards. You don't push up in a place like that and not walk over the wall so you can see if somebody's trying to flank you at that. Like, there you just got free access to backline, which he should never do.
No, he should not be ever given free access to the backline, and it's kind of how he improves the scoreline, right? He's not exactly playing the Darius that I had at least envisioned. Well, at least that I had, drew a picture of in the pregame. But I had more envisioned this type of Darius where he's always on the backline and trying to dive and flash and get his way in.
Yeah, he's really aggressive, trying to reach the backline, which I like. And the team is behind him when he does. So in that sense, he makes it work.
You know, the only person who I really feel bad for in this situation is N Chinese on the Darius. This man's making it work. I mean, he did have the very poor mid game, but he's the only one who seems to be making the correct decisions. He's the only one who's actually using this Baron buff to shove anything, and his team is pinging him like he's the one who doesn't understand what's going on, which is just, I
Like
can't help but feel
they're
bad.
sitting on Orianna and Sivir. All right. Well, yeah, that's your wave clear. Like, you have plenty of wave clear. You have Baron. Just let Darius sit in his goddamn side lane.
Exactly, and you see them pinging him, so like you know he wants to make the right decision. He's not aping out with them. And that's why I feel so bad for him, because it's the same thing, right? 4 guys go to a Baron that maybe requires 2 or 3, when you could have gone to help him in the mid, and then after that, you don't only then just like wondrously bluff, but you all just recall and leave him there. You have to leave. Like, I can't imagine having to play where I have to watch my team's movements that frequently to make sure that they're not going to make the wrong play on me. Shouts out to this guy. He does this every week. Here he goes, though. He is trying to make a use out of this Baron buff, and his team's pinging him back again. I really feel bad, because, like, the macro play was so good in game 1 that I guess I got my hopes really high up for how this team would kind of continue to play.
Well, like, the game is just at a stall, but...
There we go, though. That's his Q on to Repeat. Repeat does have the shield to keep himself up. Big E slingshot from the Zac is going to seal the fate of the Sivir, actually, from the MF ultimate. And Ham is on the back end. Nami is trying to heal up Repeat. Repeat lands a big slow, but the damage really isn't there. It's a flash forward from Syndra. She's trying to get the kill, and Darius is all the way on the back end. It's 2 people with 5 stacks, but unfortunately, he did not get the resets on the ultimate that he required to make that all work. Good for Repeat, though, as he is just dealing so much damage front to back again in this team fight. He's really just doing his best. I think Grip is overstaying, but what do I know? Grip should be able to run away here, does have the Dead Man's Plate. Repeat does not have the same type of maneuverability, and the shutdown gold does go over to Zac. That's 1,028 gold in total. It's a whole lot of gold in his pockets. As
Yes,
Grip
it is.
does flash away there, is able to evade the death, and I think that's the end of that, as Soundless's big push there equates to nothing.
Well, next team fight is gonna be around the Drake, and I hope that's gonna be the decider in this game, because I don't think this game can't really go any wronger, so to speak, when it comes to decision making and why fight and why not fight.
Yeah,
Because
no, I'm
this game is just going from one side to the other one.
I'm
game
shook.
is
I feel like
even.
that it's just a problem. But we're gonna see the fight over the dragon, and I agree with you. It's gonna be a fiesta either way. And who's there, who's not there, we don't know. It looks like that's probably the better question. So Zac is still trying to get there. He has 40 seconds. He's running. Do you think Nunu will get there on time? He probably will.
Oh yeah, he's fast.
All right. So who do you think is gonna leave? Who apes out and walks away from this fight, or do we get a clean 5? Who gets caught? Well, come on. We need predictions from you.
Oh man, I don't know, man. Obviously, Dinosaur is gonna be holding Nami for the 50th time this game. I don't know
Really?
why
On
he keeps
Serenity?
putting it on Nami.
Nope.
Well, yeah, if Darius can get the flank off, or they know what Darius is this time, so they need to be paying attention to that guy, because MF does not have the exalt yet.
Oh, there we go. It's a Sivir ultimate, and I think that's the first one that felt like it was used with Nunu in a proper fashion, but Nunu actually just runs into the wall, can't control it, it's going too fast. Here's a big ultimate, and Darius is right on top of him, forces everybody to run away, and that's going to be so good for the Darius, who's able to just stack up damage on top of damage, and they immediately cancel the MF ultimate. I think that's the biggest shock of the fight, and it's going to mean that everybody goes down. Sivir is able to get herself on the board in a real manner, and Grip is now going to take out Syndra. And the whole team should look to go mid and end here. I'm really glad that they've learned from the error of their ways, and they know that we don't want to get this dragon or baron. We want to just end the game.
Well,
I think
to be
Soundless wins
fair,
off
like,
this.
this is just...
You need minions.
SRG lost this game. Like, it's not Soundless who won, it's SRG who lost. Because
may not be able-
they knew exactly what Darius was, and they still forced the fight. And let Darius just run straight onto MF. Like, why would you do that? Like, why are you letting that guy just keep running on your AD carry when you know where he is.
That's very fair. And when nobody makes it out alive, it just spells absolute disaster. And that's kind of how we saw so many of these games end, right? One team just kind of shoved in after a massive team fight win and took everything. And it's just, it's kind of a state that the game used to exist in, and it doesn't really anymore, but it can still happen. So as we do look over to the stats, who do you think actually had the top damage that game?
I'm guessing MF because MF was so far ahead.
Yeah, her damage is actually absolutely ridiculous. So first, I'll start with there's a near tie. 500 separates the two in Sivir and Darius when it comes to damage done to champions. But when we look over at the mid lane, Orianna dealing 50,000 damage. And then we see MF deal 57,000 damage. Those are just impressive numbers nonetheless. Now, Syndra actually is dealing just about as much as the Zac, so maybe this build really is super inefficient for her and really greedy, trying to put the whole game onto the MF's back. But what do you know as a caster, right? The other things that we could really look at are actually non-factors. Nobody doesn't touch a turret, nobody doesn't touch an objective, and nobody forgot or just decided not to buy a control ward. In fact, this game, nobody even only bought one.
Yeah, well, this was SRG's game to lose. Like I said before. If they just, like, I don't know, the last team fight is just weird in my mind because if you know where Darius is, then why are you trying to force a fight on the other side when you know exactly where he is?
I'd agree, but when every fight is weird and every fight has poor decision making, I feel like that there's no other way to put it except for that. As much as it feels like that SRG lost, and that's probably true, Soundless really did win this whole series. And I mean, even if you could say it's different about Game 3, like the whole series, they won. They are the winners, and I think that they would have won even if this is extended to a best of 5. Honestly, even if this is kind of coin flippy, they just look like that they're playing League of Legends well, and if they can kind of iron out these mistakes, I actually think that they're a really big threat team heading into playoffs. I don't know if they're actually going to make playoffs.
They're in second place if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so that would make sense because their macro is really good. Obviously, they have a diamond top laner, which really helps them. And they make the right decisions a lot of the time, but that's kind of what makes it so telling when they make the wrong decisions, right? Because it's just glaring.
What's surprising to me is the fact that they managed to lose early game so hard. Pretty much, like the last 2 games, they lost early game really hard when it comes to mid and bot. But somehow they managed to pull it back because they managed to drag out the games long enough for those people to get back in the game.
Yeah, maybe the type of team that everyone should start taking Gathering Storm against, and assuming you're going to be getting these very long epics where they're looking for a 5v5 to end, because that was the story of Game 2 and Game 3, where they just won a 5v5 and walked into the base and took it without any resistance whatsoever. But unless you've got anything else to add, I feel like that's all we've got for you tonight, folks.
I got nothing.
Yeah, so it was a great night of League of Legends. It's going to end 2-1 in the favor of Soundless Esports against SRG Monoceros, and we're really glad that you were able to join us through all of this. Not really going to pick an MVP of the series because it's so tight, but I'm imagining most people would say that it's the diamond top laner on the side of Soundless Esports and Chinese. Until next time, though, I'm Sit Straight, and on behalf of SRG Gaming, have a great night.
never die. When the world is calling you, can you hear them screaming?